Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet.
Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Comedy on this Friday with episodes of The Fred Allen Show, Jack Benny. Also, we'll have an episode of Mr. Ace and Jane starring Goodman and Jane Ace. And we'll have an episode of Claudia. That'll all wrap up this hour. On this Friday, this is the 28th day of February, 59th day of the year, 306 days left until we get to 26 is what it is. John Wesley chartered the Methodist Church on this date in 1784. 1827, the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad Incorporated, becoming the first railroad in America offering commercial transportation of both people and freight. In 1844, a gun on the USS Princeton exploded while the boat was on a Potomac River cruise. That killed 2 U.S. cabinet members and several others. Regular steamboat service from the west to the east coast of the U.S. began on this date in 1849 with the arrival of the SS California in San Francisco Bay 4 months and 21 days after leaving New York Harbor. Can you imagine taking 4 months to get from New York to San Francisco? Actually, almost 5. In 1850, University of Utah opened in Salt Lake City. In 1854, the Republican Party organized in Ripon, Wisconsin. Colorado organized as a territory on this date in 1861. And in 1883, the first vaudeville theater opened in Boston. The American Telephone and Telegraph Company incorporated on this date in 1885. And in 1935, nylon discovered by Wallace Carruthers. In 1953, scientists James Watson and Francis Crick announced they had discovered the double helix structure of DNA, the molecule that contains human genes. Years later, Watson explained why they were able to make the breakthrough.
We worked on something before its time had come. Francis and I were the only people trying to do the three-dimensional structure of DNA. People thought, it's going to be complicated.
Well, in a lot of ways it is, but in some ways it's not. James Watson talking about the discovery of DNA on this date back in 1953. In 1960, the U.S. defeated Czechoslovakia 9-4 in ice hockey to win the gold medal at the Winter Olympics in Squaw Valley, California. The 11th Commandment, created on this date in 1966 by then California Republican Party Chairman Gaylord Parkinson. In his 1990 autobiography, An American Life, Reagan attributed the rule to Parkinson, explained its origins, and claimed to have followed it.
I am going to abide by the 11th Commandment, which was given birth in California and which says, "Thou shalt not speak ill of another Republican."
Reagan followed the 11th Commandment in his race against fellow Republican candidate George Christopher in the 1966 election for governor, defeated Christopher in the primary, and former Governor Pat Brown in the general election. In 1976, Reagan lost to Gerald Ford in the first 5 primary elections following the commandment, then abandoned it in the North Carolina primary and began winning against the sitting president. Well, Ford finally won the nomination, but lost to Jimmy Carter in the general election. It's been speculated that Reagan's attacks cost Ford the general election. I don't know if I would go that far. I would say that Gerald Ford cost Gerald Ford the general election with the puny attacks on inflation, his pardoning of Richard Nixon when he pardoned him. There were just too many things that Gerald Ford did wrong. And he was a decent president, particularly for somebody who was not elected. And I think a lot of Republicans held that against him, that he was not elected president, or vice president for that matter. In 1974, after 7 years, the U.S. and Egypt reestablished diplomatic relations. 1983, the final episode of MASH broadcast in the U.S., becoming the most watched television episode in history, with anywhere from 106 million to 125 million viewers in the U.S.
Whenever I see a big pair of feet or a cheesy mustache, I'll think of you.
Whenever I smell month-old socks, I'll think of you.
I miss you.
I'll miss you a lot.
For 27 years, the final episode of MASH held the record as the most-watched TV program of all time. It was eventually beaten by a sporting event, Super Bowl 44. In 1986, Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme was assassinated while walking down a street in Stockholm. A government spokesman confirmed what happened.
Prime Minister Palme and his wife were walking on a street in Stockholm City, and he was shot suddenly.
Palme was 59 years old. It was on this date in 1993, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Agents raided the Branch Davidian Church in Waco, Texas, with a warrant to arrest the group's leader, David Koresh. 4 agents and 5 Davidians died in the initial raid, starting a 51-day standoff. Koresh said his people only fired in self-defense.
I had planned, and I told the people all along, that our intention is never to have to use these weapons. The only problem with the people on the outside is that they do not understand what we believe.
After the shootout, authorities laid siege to the compound as agents tried to move in 51 days later. The house went up in flames. As many as 80 of the Branch Davidians died. In 2001, an earthquake measuring 6.8 on the Richter scale hit the Nisqually Valley and the Seattle, Tacoma, and Olympia areas of Washington state. 2013, Pope Benedict XVI resigned as the Pope of the Catholic Church, becoming the first Pope to do so since Pope Gregory XII in 1415. Passing away on this date in history, Paul Harvey.
Hello, Americans. This is Paul Harvey. Stand by for news.
I have a recording, and I've listened to a couple of times, of Paul Harvey's final broadcast. And I have to tell you, it is sad what his health issues did to him, because the mind was still fertile. The problem was the voice wasn't there anymore, and the ability to express the words wasn't there anymore. But, oh my goodness, he was a wonderful orator and a magnificent broadcaster. Paul Harvey, passing away on this date back in 2009. Also passing away on this date in history, the man who was, to so many of us, Rochester. Eddie Anderson, passing away on this date. Actress Ruby Keeler, also historian Arthur M. Schlesinger Jr., actress Jane Russell, actor George Kennedy, and pianist, conductor, composer Andre Previn, all passing away on this date in history. Let's take a look at those who are still with us, who were born on this date and who have since passed from this mortal coil, and they include a wonderful actor, Charles Durning. I remember him most from his performance in the motion picture, The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Ooh, I love to dance a little sidestep. Now they see me, now they don't have come and gone. And ooh, I love to sweep around the white step, cut a little swath and lead the people on. Ooh, I love to dance a little sidestep. Ooh, I love to sweep around the white step.
Doesn't that sound like a lot of politicians? Charles Durning, born on this date in history, along with gangster Bugsy Siegel, the man behind Terry and the Pirates and Steve Canyon in the comics, Milton Caniff, actress Billy Bird, born on this day, actor Zero Mostel, If I Were a Rich Man, also from the Mary Tyler Moore Show and the Love Boat, Gavin MacLeod, born on this date, singer Joe South, from WKRP in Cincinnati, Herb Tarlick. His real name is Frank Bonner.
That's why I say, with the proper military backing, we can go anywhere in the world and say, We are Americans. Give us your girls.
The Slimy Salesman, Herb Tarlick on WKRP in Cincinnati. Frank Bonner, born on this date in history. And also born on this date, Gilbert Gottfried.
You know, to think that for all these years I could have had Julia Roberts. I never tried to ask her out. I figured, what chance do I have? She's waiting for some incredibly good-looking guy to come along. Boy, was I an idiot. The only thing that kept her single this long is every other guy looked too human. I should have made her pass it, though. What's the worst thing she could have said? Gee, I'm sorry, you're a nice guy, but you have a normal-shaped head.
In case you don't remember, Julia Roberts at the time was married to Lyle Lovett, who was a wonderful country singer, but, not any sort of Hollywood fashion plate by any stretch of the imagination. Gilbert Gottfried, born on this date in history.
Hi, this is Jeff Foxworthy. It is now time for the birthday announcements. The following people are now officially older than dirt.
And among those still with us, racer Mario Andretti, 85 years old today. Bernadette Peters, 77. Pro wrestler Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, who has made some appearances for All Elite Wrestling. And I got to tell you, he looks amazing for that age, 72 years old, still very fit. I think he still operates a gym, if I recall correctly. Had some wonderful matches back in the day with Steve Borden, Sting, and the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Had some wonderful matches back in the day. Ray Don Chong is 64 today. From House, Robert Sean Leonard is 56. From Heroes and Final Destination, Ali Larder is 49. Countries, Jason Aldean is 48 today. And from Once Upon a Time and Tudor, Sarah Bolger is 34. Those just a few of the people who celebrate the last day of February as their birthday. And if this is your birthday...
We baked you a birthday cake. If you get a tummy ache and you moan and groan and woe, don't forget we told you so. Happy birthday! Happy birthday!
Make a wish, dear, and blow out the candles.
Here they go.
Up first on this Friday Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, a full-hour edition of The Fred Allen Show from 85 years ago, February 28th, 1940. That's next.
Civil defenses, common sense. This is Joni James. After nuclear attack, radioactive fallout will be a potential threat to every living thing. You can't hear or smell or taste fallout. Often you can't see it, so you must take shelter and stay there until told it's safe to leave.
I haven't listened to any other Joni James interviews from back in the day. I think I should, because I don't know if she always was that scared of just speaking and not singing, or if she was just nervous about talking about civil defense. I don't know. What I do know is first up on this podcast, we are going to hear the first half of the Fred Allen Show from 85 years ago today, February 28th, 1940, as Fred's going to do some interesting interviews along the way here. Let's listen.
The Fred Allen Show. Brought to you by Ipana Toothpaste for the smile of beauty, Sal Hepatica for the smile of health. An hour of smiles with Fred Allen, folks. 3,600 seconds of fun and music. Fun with our star comedian, Fred Allen. With our guest, a representative from the Statue of Liberty, David Ledmere. Music with Peter Van Steeden, the Merrimacs, and Win Murray. The time has come. It's the Fred Allen Show. the feller says, you can't start a show without an overture, folks, so we bow to the inevitable, and our overture is Yip by Addie I.A. Ladies and gentlemen, A is for Alan, who comes every week. B's for the bags hanging down on each cheek. C's for the comedy he's been rehearsing. And D is for Duck. Here comes Fred in person.
Thank you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and congratulations to you, Harry, on finally mastering your ABCs.
Oh, thanks.
Why didn't you do the rest of the alphabet? You're going so well there, I thought you'd continue.
Is there more to it?
Oh, haven't you heard, Harry?
Oh, no. Gee, I didn't get any farther than college, Fred.
Oh, you only got up to D, a Dartmouth man, huh? Well, would you like to hear at this late age, would you like to hear the rest of the alphabet, Harry?
Yeah, what is the next letter, Fred?
Well, to a musician, it's E flat, but to us, it's E. E for their ears, listeners find full of corn. F for the fanfares, Peter blows on his horn. G's for the gags we hope will go well. H, our announcer, Herschel von Zell.
Oh, well, that's fine. Now for the news. Peter!
No, wait a minute. Wait, don't put the fanfare in there. I'm not through yet, Harry.
Oh, well, I'm sorry.
I for Ipana, whose praises we sing. J is the jibe that the Merrimacs swing. K is the key that Win Murray reaches. L is what Van Steeden looks like in a tuxedo coat that doesn't match his breeches. I had to rush in for the meter. The meter was rushed it together.
Well, that's fine. Now for the news. Peter!
Now, wait. No, Harry. I am not finished.
Well, it's my mistake. Go ahead, Fred.
M is for Portland, so pretty and chic.
M is for Portland?
Portland, Maine, Harry.
O.
No, not O, Harry. The next letter is N. You gave yourself away. It was there I knew you were a Dartmouth man when you put O after M. But the next letter is N.
Oh, well, N, I know what that is for. That's for the news. Peter!
Gee, I never saw a man take so much time to get ready to play so little, did you? All right, I give up the whole thing. The Ipana News presents The World in Review. New York City, New York. Community Service Society Committee on Housing publishes preliminary report on rooming house situation in Manhattan. Report based on survey of 75 typical rooming houses shows lack of sufficient beds and bathtubs for tenants, law violations in regard to cooking in rooms, and serious overcrowding. Ipana News conducts its own rooming house survey to get the true facts. First, a rooming house tenant, Mr. Yandel Baxter. Now, Yandel, have you found conditions crowded?
Crowded? Brother, I lived in places so packed, I come out narrow-minded.
I was wondering why your head came to a point there. I couldn't... That explains it.
Yeah, it's brutal. Me and the wife just checked out of a joint. The Beckoning Arms down on 8th Street.
The Beckoning Arms, that was the name of the place. Well, what were your accommodations?
Well, we had the bridal suite.
The bridal suite?
Yeah, it was the southeast half of the northwest corner of a 9-family room.
There were 9 families in the one room?
Yeah, they had lines painted on the floor for privacy.
Oh. Did the people stay inside of their lines?
Everything was okay till the guy living in the center of the room gets up in the middle of the night and starts painting new lines.
He was altering his boundaries?
Yeah. First thing anybody knew, he'd blitzkrieg 6 inches south.
What happened?
A plebiscite busted out.
Really?
Yeah, the guy by the window Anschlussed the family by the door. The guy on the downtown side threw up a Maginot Line. And the guy in the corner started dropping leaflets on everybody.
Did you retreat?
Me and the wife run the blockade without getting scuttled.
Good for you. And now you are living elsewhere?
Oh, yeah. We got a room of our own now. It's a converted broom closet.
Well, isn't that rather stuffy?
Nah, I don't mind. But the wife is starting to crab.
Why?
On account of the boarder.
Oh, you have a boarder in the closet.
Yeah, it wouldn't be so bad, but he's a musician.
A musician?
Yeah, when he brings his band home to practice, the wife has to get up on the shelf with her grandfather.
Well, obviously you've got no room for complaint. And thank you, Mr. Yandel Baxter. A young lady who had a peculiar experience as a result of rooming house congestion is Miss Gladys Snavely. What happened? You found it, did you? What happened, Miss Snavely?
This is one for the book.
Well, you don't say. What occurred?
Well, last week I moved into this rooming house.
Uh-huh.
I get me a room on the same floor as the bathtub.
That makes it very convenient. Now,
Are you kidding?
well, not knowing the place, I don't.
Brother, getting down that hall to the bathtub is like running interference for Notre Dame.
You always have trouble, do you?
Let me give you an incident.
Do. I wish you would.
Last week I had a date with a fella.
Uh-huh.
It's Saturday night, so I figure I'll take me a bath.
Good for you.
I go down the hall with me bubble soap and a towel.
Bubble soap and a towel.
Well, the door's locked.
Uh-huh.
Some dame is splashing around in the tub and singing, Ma, he's making eyes at me.
You withdrew to your room, did you?
Yeah. I'm sitting there with me ear cocked when I hear the water gurgling out of the tub.
Uh-huh.
The bathroom door opens. I make a dash for it.
And?
Zip, the old maid from across the hall beats me by a sponge.
Oh. You withdrew once more, of course.
Yeah. Again I hear the water gurgling. Again I lam down the hall.
And?
Bang, the fuller brush man in the next room trips me up with a sample and slams the bathroom door.
You were mad, of course.
I'm berserk.
Berserk.
So I sticks me head out at the window and I hollers, fire, fire.
A brilliant move.
Yeah. Well, fire engines start screaming down the street. All the roomers run out of the house. I'm alone at last.
What did you do?
I sauntered down the hall with me bubble soap and me towel.
Uh-huh.
The bathroom's empty. In I go. I turn on the faucet.
And?
Nothing comes out.
Nothing?
The fire chief cut off the water. He's playing it on the building.
And you didn't get your bath?
What do you think, mister?
At a hasty glance, I would say no.
Oh, wise guy, huh?
That is putting it mildly, and thank you, Miss Gladys Snavely. And now a man who bids fair to become a permanent pest on this program, poet Thorndike Swinburne. Now, Thorndike, you have been thrown out of here twice.
Yes.
Once out the 49th Street exit.
Yes.
And the other time the 50th Street door.
Yes.
Now, what do we have to do to get rid of you permanently, Thorndike?
Oh, the eternal question.
It has been asked before?
And will be asked again. To know me is to loathe me.
You are a keen judge of character, Thorndike.
Thank you.
Now, why are you here tonight?
I have written a new poem. It's dedicated to a crowded rooming house.
And what is it called?
A crowded rooming house.
Fine. Nice twist you have on it. Go right ahead.
A crowded rooming house. It takes a heap of people to make a house a heap. And when a heap of people is heaped up in their sleep, the heap that's heaped up sleeping is just a heap asleep. But the sleep that's sleeped up is sleeping by the heap that is asleep. Is a heap and sleeping. And I don't mean sleeping heap. Heap.
You made several mistakes there, but fortunately in a poem like that, no one will ever know. This is including yourself, I take it. That was the end.
Yes, you may throw me out now.
Always a pleasure.
Throw me out the 6th Avenue door. I'm going cross town.
Yes. We'll throw you as far as Lindy's. You can stop off there. And thank you for a distressing few minutes. And now to show how crowded some of the New York theatrical rooming houses are, Ipana News dramatizes the recent experience of an actor who engaged a room. The scene, the front hall in Ma Brody's theatrical rooming house. A meek little actor is in the hall inquiring from Ma Brody about accommodations.
I want to get a room, Ma Brody.
Are you an actor?
Yeah, I'm a sword swallower.
Working?
I'm opening with the floor show at the Automat Monday.
Okay. I'm a little crowded, but you can have this room off the hall, number 7.
Thanks, Ma. I'll see you later. Oh, boy, what a break. The house is crowded, and I grabbed this big room all to myself. Well, I may as well hang me coat in the closet.
Yeah? What's on your mind, Bud?
Who are you guys?
Culpepper and McGee, Bud. We're living in here.
In the closet?
Yeah, beat it, Bud. We're rehearsing.
Yeah, who was that lady? I seen you. That's a laugh. 2 guys sleeping in my closet. Well, I'll hang my coat in the bathroom.
Hey, closing the door kindly.
Who are you?
I am Podolsky, the Russian baritone. I am living in here.
In the bathroom?
In Russia, this is the parlor. You.
Well, there's one thing. I ain't gonna be lonesome in here. I'll stuff my coat in this bureau drawer.
Hey, close that drawer.
Well, I'll be... Who are you?
I'm Major Pee-wee, the midget.
And you're living in that bureau drawer?
Not so loud. You'll wake up my 8 brothers.
Hey, this is getting ridiculous. I'm getting in the bed. At least nobody can bother me there.
Hey, get off my head.
What are you doing in my bed?
I'm living in here, Bud. Scram.
Hey, what is this? Ma Brody! Ma Brody!
Hey, what's the fuss? Who's making that noise? Oh, it's you.
Hey, what kind of a joint is this?
I told you I was crowded. What are you kicking about?
Listen, I don't mind them 2 guys in the closet. I ain't complaining about that Russian in the bathroom and the midgets in the drawer. But when I gotta sleep with a total stranger...
What stranger?
This guy in bed here.
Oh, that's Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown, meet the new roomer.
Oh, glad to meet you, Bud.
I'm glad to know you, Brown. Move over.
Thank you. And now the Merrimacs, ladies and gentlemen, to sing the number that was not recently dedicated to one of the Marx brothers. It's called the Gaucho Serenade.
Shining bright down in Rio de Janeiro comes a gent with a mellow instrument and a colorful sombrero. Then he sings and the melody he brings so tenderly played is called the Gaucho Serenade. La 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 la. Si, senor, he's a happy troubadour on a patio you'll find him. He will go from door to door, leaving happiness behind him. All the sweet senoritas hurry out to join the parade and hear the Gaucho Serenade. La 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 la. The Gaucho Serenade. Si, senor, he's a happy troubadour on a patio, you'll find him. Si, senor, he will go from door to door, leaving happiness behind him. All the sweet senoritas hurry up to join the parade and hear him sing the Gaucho Serenade. La 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 la. The Gaucho Serenade, the Gaucho Serenade.
The Town Hall Tea Shoppy, always on the alert for some startling innovation, announces the addition of an educated talking waiter. The singing kind were merely entertaining. Now, the new ones are guaranteed to be instructive as well. Now, tonight we bring you a preview of the new waiting technique. The scene, the tea shoppy.
Good evening, sir. May I suggest this table over here?
Thanks. Got a menu?
Here you are, sir. And may I remind you that in the year 872, Howard the Fair-Haired broke the power of the Norwegian chiefs in Iceland?
Is that right? How's the hamburger?
Excellent. You know, of course, that Einstein's theory of relativity assumes that the velocity of light...
Yeah, that's been spinning around in my pretty head for some time. So you just run along and get me some hamburgers, some mashed potatoes, some creamed carrots, and a cup custard pronto.
Certainly, sir. But may I point out that those are all soft foods?
Well?
Well, so many of the soft, creamy, well-cooked foods we eat nowadays, delicious as they are, do not give our gums the exercise and stimulation they need to keep them firm and healthy.
Okay, what can I do about it?
Just listen to Harry Von Zell some Wednesday night when he says...
When gums are tender and soft, teeth are seldom sparkling and bright. And to help strengthen undernourished gums with toning and exercise, many dentists suggest the regular use of Ipana toothpaste and gum massage. For Ipana is especially designed not only to clean and brighten your teeth, but when used with massage to help stimulate your gums as well. So get a tube of Ipana from your druggist and use it faithfully. When you feel that delightful tang, exclusive with Ipana and massage, you'll know that circulation is awakening in your gums, stimulating them, helping them become firmer and healthier. And you'll know that you made a mighty wise choice in Ipana toothpaste.
Van Steeden and his Tobacco Road Symphony Orchestra have just rendered Cherry Berry Bee. Say, Harry, that lady just came in. Would you like to read the other commercial over that lady just came in here?
I have filed it under one.
Haven't you? Good evening, sir. May I suggest this table over here? Thanks, got a menu. You and I can do it.
Well, all right.
Well, we'll get you read it to her when we get through. And now our guest. Hello, Portland.
Hello.
Gee, I didn't see you come in. You just get here?
No, I've been over helping the Merrimacs.
Helping the Merrimacs financially?
No, they need some new words, so I made some up.
New words for what?
For their songs. All their songs have the same words.
Oh, that's silly. The Merrimacs sing different songs every week.
Yes, but in the middle of the songs, they always say the same words.
What words?
Watten, datten, batten, scatten, hatten, gatten, pa.
Oh, I see. And what? You told me to wait there. I waited. Now, so what? You just want me to wait to relax. It's nice of you. The thought is nice. If you're waiting for results, you should tell me, too, and set a limit. Well, what, these words, what were those words again there that you have,
Watten, datten, batten, scatten, hatten, gatten, pa.
That was better than the first time, wasn't it? It was shorter, which made it better automatically. You see. Well, what new words have you written in now to take the place of watten, datten, batten, scatten, hatten, gatten, pa?
Wheatin, deatin, beatin, skeetin, heatin, geetin, poo.
Well, that last word sums it up nicely.
Pooh?
And I do mean what you said. Well, now that you've given the Merrimacs that Wheaton, Beaton, Durstein, and Osborne routine, I think you ought to. I think you've written yourself out. You should give up lyric writing as of now. Isn't there some other hobby you could cultivate?
Well, this is leap year, but I'm too young for that.
Ah, yes. Leap year is rather a risky 12-month for the unattached male, isn't it?
That's what you men say. Girls have their troubles leap year, too.
What troubles? They put a little lipstick on the bait, and they're ready to troll.
Well, I saw a girl run up to a policeman today.
To propose?
No. She said, "Officer, there are 2 men following me. Make the little one stop."
That's very good, but not the way you tell it. But I'd like to hear someone tell that sometime.
Do you know how leap year got its name?
Yes, I know. Why don't you put a weight on your tonsils and keep your voice in one place? Yes, I know how leap year got its name. It comes every 4 years. Every 4th year, the president, you know, is up for re-election, and somebody else tries to leap into the White House.
This may not turn out to be leap year after all.
Well, nobody seems to know. The way it looks, though, I wouldn't sell my fireplace. Now, what about, that's probably our guest star's reception. We shouldn't construe it. Now, what about our guest star, by the way?
Well, last week I went down to see the Statue of Liberty, and I learned so many things about the statue.
Oh, now, wait. You haven't brought the Statue of Liberty here tonight.
No, but I have brought a man who knows all there is to know about the statue.
Really?
Mr. Allen, meet Mr. David Ludmira.
Well, good evening, Mr. Ludmira.
Good evening, Fred.
I hope Portland hasn't dragged you away from your chores at the Statue of Liberty for this little tete-a-tete.
No, Fred. I'm not on duty at night, but the statue is in good hands.
Ah, that sure is a weight off my mind. I thought Miss Liberty might be out there in the harbor tonight without a chaperone. You know, with all those boys floating around.
Well, there's nothing to worry about, Fred.
Fine. Now, before we start, Mr. Ludmira, may I ask what is your official position at Bedloe's Island?
I'm an assistant to Mr. George A. Palmer, the superintendent, Fred.
And what are your duties?
Well, I have charge of the office work and finances, and occasionally I guide visitors around the statue.
Well, how long have you been a member of Miss Liberty's supporting cast?
Since 1936.
1936. That was the year Alf Landon left Kansas with the big flower, and New York left Tammany with the little flower. Now, first on our fact parade, how did the Statue of Liberty ever get into the middle of New York Harbor? It surely wasn't there when Grover Whalen went down the bay to welcome Hendrick Hudson, was it?
No, Fred. The tablet on the pedestal of the statue tells its story.
It tells a story. Well, how does the tablet read?
A gift from the people of the Republic of France to the people of the United States. This Statue of Liberty, enlightening the world, commemorates the alliance of the 2 nations in achieving the independence of the United States and attests their abiding friendship.
The statue, then, was erected by the people of France. And when was it previewed?
The Statue of Liberty was unveiled and dedicated on October 28, 1886.
1886. Miss Liberty today is 53 years old.
Yes, going on 54.
Well, if you want to be catty, Mr. I hope I look as well when I'm 53 going on 54, but I don't imagine I'll wear as well as the Statue of Liberty.
Well, I hardly think so, Fred. She's made of copper.
Well, I've got plenty of iron in my system, Mr. Ludmira. As a matter of fact, I have so much iron in me, they tried to tear me down along with the 6th Avenue L a few months back. Iron seems to run in our family. When my grandfather died, they didn't bury him. The old gentleman was scrapped. But tell me, Mr. You were scratching your head, Uncle Jim. I hope you were thinking. But tell me, Mr. Don't mind us, Mr. Ludmira. This goes on all the time. But tell me, Mr. Ludmira, who designed the statue originally?
The statue was created by a French sculptor named Auguste Bartholdi.
Did Mr. Bartholdi build the entire statue in France?
Yes. In 1884, Liberty was on exhibition in Paris for about 6 months.
Well, how did they ship this enormous figure to America? The Normandy wasn't running in those days. It isn't running today, is it?
Well, the statue didn't come in one piece, Fred. It was shipped here in 300 sections.
Well, I guess it's the old story. 6 months in Paris and anyone will go to pieces. The statue we see in the harbor today is really America's first jigsaw puzzle.
You might say so, Fred.
Well, can you give us an idea of how large the Statue of Liberty really is?
Well, Liberty is 152 feet high, and it's as tall as a 22-story building.
And that arm that holds the torch?
The arm is 40 feet long, the index finger on the hand is 8 feet long, and Liberty's waist is 35 feet around.
Or 2 feet smaller than Don Wilson. But tell me, Mr. Ludmira, is the Statue of Liberty the property of New York City?
No, Fred. The statue is administered by the National Park Service, a branch of the United States Department of the Interior.
I see. It's outside, but the Department of Interior makes an exception in this case. But, well, tell me, about how many visitors do you greet a year? Last year, for instance.
Well, 1939 was a record year, Fred. We had about 428,000 tourists. Most of them were World's Fair visitors.
And with the fair opening again, I'm sure you'll have another record-breaking summer. Now, suppose I come out to visit the Statue of Liberty one day. What will I see?
Well, first you'll take an elevator to the top of the pedestal.
The pedestal. Can I go up into the statue?
Yes, you can go up as high as the head.
In another elevator?
No, Fred. You have to climb a winding staircase right up to the head.
And how high is it?
12 stories or 168 steps. There are windows in the statue's forehead, and you get a beautiful view of the city.
Well, if you can see the statue so well from New York, I'm surprised that some enterprising firm hasn't tried to hang a gum or a soft drink sign on Miss Liberty.
Well, she's had a couple of offers, Fred.
You mean someone has actually tried to commercialize our symbol?
Yes. A few years ago, we received an advertising proposition from a watchmaking concern. They wanted to put a giant wristwatch on the arm of the statue.
Say, that would have set a new high in sponsoring, wouldn't it? You didn't accept the proposition, of course.
No, Fred. The Statue of Liberty is still on sustaining.
Where I am apt to find myself any minute. Well, I want to thank you for this enlightening little chat tonight, Mr. Ludmira.
I've enjoyed it very much, Fred.
We may have spoken in jest about some angles of your work this evening, but in our hearts we all know today more than ever before that this statue is the symbol of America's most precious possession, our liberty.
Good night, Fred.
Thank you, and good night, Mr. David Ludmira. Thank you. And now, Miss, you've got a new costume wearing? You look charming, I must say. And your new shoes, too? You have those filled-in heels, haven't you?
Yes, Fred.
I never know with those shoes whether a girl's arches are falling or whether it's the shoes. But what are you going to sing for? I'll leave out this joke. It didn't get a laugh at rehearsal. What are you going to sing tonight?
I thought about you.
Did you really? And you set it to music. Well, all right. I thought about you.
I took a trip on a train, and I thought about you. I passed a shadowy lane, and I thought about you. 2 or 3 cars parked under the stars, a winding stream, moon shining down on some little town, and with each beam, same old dream. At every stop that we made, I thought about you. But when I pulled down the shade, then I really felt blue. I peeked through the crack and looked at the track, the one going back to And what did I do? I thought about you. Seems that I read, or somebody said, that out of sight is out of mind. Maybe that's so, but I tried to go and leave you behind. What did I find? I took a trip on a train, and I thought about you. I passed a shadowy lane, and I thought about you. 2 or 3 cars parked under the stars, a winding stream, moon shining down on some little town, and with each beam, the same old dream. At every stop that we made, I thought about you. But when I pulled down the shade, then I really felt blue.
Don't touch a note of that song. That's the way you rehearsed it. Now we'll sing it later in the program. Thank you, Ed. Now, oh, stop it, Harry. With all of the moving picture companies going in for epics nowadays, ladies and gentlemen, we see no reason why we can't toss off one of our own. So here it is. This production, gigantic in a small way, we call the Town Hall Morality Play. Each of the 4 characters you have known since childhood. They are, in the order of their appearance, rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief. First, rich man.
With all my money, I can't buy a better dentifrice than Ipana toothpaste.
Poor man.
When I figure that Ipana not only does a bang-up job on my teeth, but when used with massage helps the health of my gums, too, I figure I just can't afford not to use Ipana.
Beggar man.
My wife doesn't have to beg the youngster to brush his teeth anymore. Not since he found out how pleasant Ipana tastes.
Thief.
Why let unattractive teeth rob you of an attractive smile when Ipana is no farther away than your nearest drugstore?
Those opinions, ladies and gentlemen, are influenced in no small way by the opinions of many dentists who say, since the soft, creamy foods we eat do not give our gums enough exercise and stimulation to keep them firm and healthy, use Ipana toothpaste and gum massage. And in giving that advice, dentists are doing for others what so many of them are doing for themselves. For in a recent survey, more dentists said they personally use Ipana toothpaste than any other dentifrice of any type. Now make their choice your choice. Use Ipana toothpaste. The Fred Allen Show will continue immediately following a brief pause for your station identification.
And even though it's a little late, that's the half-hour break for the Fred Allen Show from 85 years ago today, February 28, 1940, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We'll wrap up the Fred Allen Show in just a moment.
Alert today, alive tomorrow.
Plan now with your family for civil defense emergency action. Someday it may save your lives.
Join, work, and share together with others this knowledge of self-help. Civil defense, an American tradition.
Back in the old days, radio stations had to pause every 30 minutes to do station identification. Now they barely pause once an hour to do it. But what can I say? Let's get back to the Fred Allen Show and wrap it up from 85 years ago today, February 28th, 1940.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the question of the week. This is Mr. and Mrs. Average Man's Round Table, where 3 persons selected from our studio audience are invited to give their opinions on a question that concerns some prominent issue of the day. These little sessions are entirely unrehearsed. Fred takes his place at the round table now, where he meets his fellow debaters for the first time. Are you ready, Fred?
Yes, Harry. If the forum is officially open, if Portland will kindly introduce the first member of our little gathering tonight.
I'll be glad to. First, Mr. Arthur Rhoda from Jackson Heights, New York.
Good evening, Mr. Roeder.
Good evening, Mr. Allen.
Are you from Jackson Heights?
I am.
We have quite a few members of our program from Jackson Heights. Win Murray and our Uncle James there, the man who has you so firmly by the collar. He's always afraid that a guest will get away once they get in. But did the snowstorm last night bother you folks any over Jackson Heights way?
Well, we're rather short of snowplows, I believe.
I know. Uncle Jim told me he mushed in this morning. Of course, if everyone had dogs as big as Uncle Jim, mushing would be a pleasure, I guess. But you've never seen Uncle Jim in his bare feet, I don't imagine, Mr.
Not quite, no.
He looks as though he's standing on 2 skin skis. But may I ask... Oh, yeah, don't laugh, Mr. Van Steeden. I have been over in Jackson Heights through the backyards on a concert tour some time ago. And I happened to see Uncle Jim's stockings. They look like 2 sleeves hanging in the wind. But may I ask, that'll hold you, wherever you... where do you come from, Mr. Van Steeden? Larchmont way, huh?
Jackson Heights.
Joe Jackson. But you're on your way to Larchmont with that tuxedo, anyway. Mr. Rhoda, may I ask your business? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I'm a liquor salesman, Fred.
A liquor salesman? Yeah. Are you really?
Yes.
You haven't brought any samples with you.
Well, you can call me up tomorrow for those.
No, I don't drink. I'm a malted milkman myself. I guess I miss a lot of conviviality, but I probably save a lot of wear and tear on my head at the same time. Tell me confidentially, do you think that the liquor being sold today compares favorably in quality with the liquor that was sold before Prohibition?
Oh, I think so, yes.
You do. It's just as good, aged just as long?
Oh, yes.
Cheaper or more expensive?
I think it's cheaper.
It certainly is better than what they were selling during Prohibition, that I'll guarantee. I remember going to a boat christening over on the west side during Prohibition. Some politician got up and hit the stern with a bottle of champagne. This bootleg champagne had burned 2 new portholes in the back of the boat. And the rudder of the boat went up the Hudson alone doing 40 knots an hour. Well, thank you a lot, Mr. Roeder. I'm sorry to have taken up so much of your time. And now, Portland.
Mrs. Irene Green from New York City.
Good evening, Mrs. Green.
Good evening, Mr. Allen.
Do you work here in New York, do you?
Yes, I do.
May I ask your profession?
Well, my dad and I are in an importing business.
Importing? Your father and you?
Yes.
What importing what, may I ask?
We import rock lobster tails from Cape Town, South Africa.
From Africa, rock lobster tails?
That's right.
Just the tails of the lobster?
Yes.
What's the matter with the rest of the lobster? Why don't you bring that along to keep the tails company? It's pretty lonesome.
Well, you see, Mr. Allen, there's a great deal of waste in the tails, and
the waste in the other part of the body.
No, I mean there's waste in the head.
Uh-huh.
And,
same with radio comedians. The heads are all waste. If you were going to import one, I would never import one with a head.
Well, we tried to save on cost of weight in freight.
I see.
And therefore we only import the tail, which carries most of the meat.
Gosh, a man who was in the shirt importing business would be better off in the lobster business using the same methods, wouldn't he? Do they vary greatly from the main variety of lobster, the lobsters you import?
Yes, they're more like what is known here as the crawfish.
Oh, the crawfish. They don't have those pincer-like claws, do
No.
they? They don't. Up in Maine, lobsters are so common they use them for everything. Bookends, doorstops, paperweights. I know a politician up there in a town, Old Orchard. There's a man, Mr. Mullen, a politician, who even uses a live lobster for a mouse trap. Yes, he rubs cheese on inside the claws of the lobster and sets the lobster down on the floor like that. The mouse comes out and smells the cheese in the lobster's claw, and instantly the lobster closes in, and Mr. Mullen has a mouse head to mount. Well, thank you a lot. I'm sorry you didn't bring along one of those lobster tails. I don't think I've ever eaten one.
I'll bring one for you if you want to.
I wish you would next week, and you can come back on the program, and I'll eat it while you're here and tell you. Thank you a lot, Mrs. Green. And now, Portland.
Mr. John Daly from New York City.
Well, good evening, Mr. Daly.
Good evening, Mr. Allen.
I was going to ask your profession, but I've been informed by a gentleman who is in charge of split seconds here that I've been talking too much, so I'm going to go into our question, if you'll excuse me. You don't mind, do you, Mr. Daly?
Certainly not, Mr.
Well, thank you. Now, some other day I'll meet you on the street and ask you what your profession is to keep the record straight. That brings us to our question. Tonight we discuss an institution that has been a source of ridicule for generations. It's the mother-in-law. Last year, a group of women got together and formed what is known as the Mother-in-Law Association. Its aim at that time was to banish all harsh and vulgar mother-in-law jokes. Now, recently, the association met again this year and changed the name mother-in-law to kin-mother. Now, our question tonight is, do you think that mother-in-law jokes should be stopped? And should the mother-in-law be accorded more respect? Now, Mr. Rhoda, how do you feel about mothers-in-law?
Well, mine being so far away, I don't think I'm such a good judge.
In Jackson Heights, is she?
No, farther than that, 3,000 miles.
Oh, well, you can speak freely then. Well, how do you get along with your mother-in-law, Mr. Rhoda?
Well, I got along very well with her.
When you were near her?
Absolutely.
Well, then I'd say that you would be in favor of letting up on mother-in-laws.
I think so, yes.
All right. Mrs. Green?
Well,
how do you feel about mothers-in-law?
I feel that they should be able to take a joke as well as anybody else, and by making an issue of it, as these people have done, trying to form committees and such, I think they only make it more ridiculous.
They're overdoing it,
Absolutely. I think they poke more fun than anyone else does.
Well, of course, they open up a whole new field. That'll give radio 3 years longer to live. Now it's a new mother-in-law joke. But how do you personally feel? Do you think that the mother-in-laws are ridiculed too greatly, personally? Yes.
Personally, I've never found it so, no.
You haven't. All right, thank you. Do you think they should, though, that people shouldn't ridicule them?
No, I don't think they deserve ridicule particularly.
All right, that's what we want to get this evening. And Mr. Daly, how do you feel? You're married, are you?
I certainly am, Mr. Allen.
Do you... Well, you had me fooled. You don't look it, I will say. But how do you feel about mothers-in-law?
Well, I think that's up to the mother-in-laws. I believe there's 2 types of mother-in-laws.
2 types.
The good type that builds you up and makes you feel like you're somebody, and the type who's constantly trying to tear you down and make you feel like you're nuts, you know?
Oh, so you believe that the person is entitled to a choice?
I said.
Well, I think our forum stands 2 for the mothers-in-law, and Mr. Daly, who would have to be talked into it, but I haven't got the time. I'm firmly convinced that in spite of anything we have said tonight, the mother-in-law will survive, and I will probably get hit on the head the next time my mother-in-law shows up at the house. On this pleasant note of anticipation, the meeting is hurriedly adjourned, and thank you all for your kind participation. Thank you. And now the Merrimacs, ladies and gentlemen, their song, I'll See You in My Dreams.
I'll see you in my dreams. Hold you in my dreams. Someone took you out of my arms. Still I feel the thrill of your charm. Lips that once were mine. Tender eyes that
Just to show you how fast news travels, I learned the other day that almost 3,000 years ago in Rome, a favorite remedy for a cold was for the person who had one to read aloud. Now, there's a choice morsel of pharmaceutical nonsense.
Well, Fred, I think that's a swell idea.
Well, Harry, do you mean to say that if you had a cold, you could do it any good by reading the Farmer's Almanac or the telephone directory out loud?
No, certainly not, Fred. It all depends on what you read. Now, I have a little paragraph here, reading time 58 seconds, that would do a whale of a lot of good for anyone who reads it.
Well, then, Harry, by all means, read it.
All right, it's this. At the very first sign of a cold, take sparkling sal hepatica. Because sal hepatica helps fight colds faster. That's why it's recommended by so many doctors. As a matter of fact, in a recent impartial survey among physicians conducted by leading medical journals, it was found that 7 out of 10 physicians recommend a saline laxative when treating a cold. And sal hepatica, we believe, is the outstanding saline laxative in America. There are 2 very good reasons for this, which you can check with your own doctor. First,
sal hepatica acts quickly, yet it is exceptionally gentle.
And since the progress of a cold is fast, this greater speed of sal hepatica is especially important in fighting it. Second,
sal hepatica also helps nature counteract the acidity that so often accompanies a cold.
So get an economical bottle of sal hepatica from your druggist and always keep it on hand for quick cold-fighting service. Remember, for faster action in treating colds, take sal hepatica.
Now, the Mighty Allen Art Players present an Antarctic episode. It's called Admiral Allen Was Leading a Dog's Life, so they left him at the pole. Music, Arturo.
This is station JUNK, New York. The program originally scheduled for this time, Shep Fink and His Drooling Rhythm, has been canceled. Instead, we take you now to the South Pole for a surprise shortwave interview with the famous Antarctic explorer, Admiral Rufus E. Allen. The next voice you hear will be that of Admiral Allen, speaking from the South Pole. Take it away, Admiral. That was not Admiral Allen, folks, I hope. Mr. Markell, our engineer, is having a little difficulty making contact. We'll try it again. Take it away, Admiral Allen. Take it away, Admiral Allen. Take it. Maybe he can't take it. Come in, Admiral.
Hello, America.
Oh, I say there's something here.
Hello, America. Can you hear me, America?
Not very well, Admiral. Can you speak more distinctly?
Okay, America. How's this, America?
Much better, Admiral. How are conditions down there at the pole?
I'll be a journey dog tip.
Oh, watch it, Admiral.
Oh, are we on the air?
Yes, Admiral.
Hello, America.
You said that.
Oh.
Now, how are things at the pole, Admiral?
It's too darn cold, America, but my little band is facing the hardships bravely, America.
Oh, good. Have you any message from the Arctic waste to deliver to civilization?
Yes. If the pot of gold calls me up...
Yes?
Tell them my new phone number is Penguin 4. Ring 2. An Eskimo will run over and get me.
Okay, Admiral.
Hello. Oh, goodbye, America. Goodbye, America. Goodbye.
Come in. Close that blasted door.
Tompkins reporting, sir. Did you talk to America?
Yes, I just signed off. Have you taken the temperature reading, Tompkins?
Just finished, sir. Temperature's 80 below and dropping fast.
80 below. What are you using for a thermometer? The Trilon?
It's so cold the mercury's hanging down from the thermometer, sir. It's wobbling about like a pendulum.
Gad, we've been here 6 months at Little Brooklyn. This is the coldest yet.
Yes, sir. It got so cold this morning I couldn't saw any firewood. The teeth on the saw were chattering.
We're doomed, Tompkins. It's getting colder by the hour. and we're almost out of food.
Well, can't you send some men out to hunt for food?
I had Welch, Weaver, and Svensky out hunting yesterday. Welch bagged a small walrus.
And the other two?
Weaver's a little nearsighted. He bagged Svensky.
That won't help.
No, Svensky only weighs 80 pounds. He's practically all gristle.
Somebody's knocking, sir.
You have keen eardrums, Tompkins. Come here.
Sacre bleu, it is cold.
Pierre, my cook.
Pierre, your ex-cook, I quit.
You can't quit, Pierre. Get back out to the cookhouse and start making dinner.
Non, une chaîne. How can I make the dinner when there is nothing to cook?
You can fake it, can't you?
20 years I have studied under the great Oscar. And what have I cooked on this expedition?
What?
December, fried reindeer horns.
Delicious.
January, penguin du jour.
Piquant.
February, porpoise pandowdy.
Delightful.
I am finished.
This is vitamin sabotage, Pierre. You got my menu for today's dinner. Now you get out and cook it.
Pierre Tonnerre, who can cook that order? Overshoes medium rare with fried snow.
You'll cook them overshoes and like it. And fillet some of the sole for me.
But Pierre is artiste. I want to make the gravy delicieusement and the sauces supreme.
Never mind your fancy sauces. I'm giving you 2 minutes to start cooking, or I'm taking away your postcard.
No! No! Not it! Pierre will obey.
And make it très vite.
Oui, Admiral. Nom de cochon. For this I have left Polty's Fisher on 23rd Street.
Yeah, Tompkins, the expedition has got to get food. How much do you weigh, Tompkins?
Good heavens, sir, you're not planning...
Not yet, Tompkins. But try to put on a little weight. Just in case.
We won't starve, Admiral. We still have our cow.
Nobody's eating Daisy, Tompkins. That cow's our good luck mascot.
But you've got to do something, sir. Say, what are we supposed to be doing down here at the South Pole, anyway?
I'm collecting data. I'm syndicating a newspaper column. My data. Come here.
Where's Admiral Allen?
Crash, why ain't you out on patrol duty?
I'm quitting. You can take the pole and...
Hold on, Crash. You ain't making me a party to no international incident. You get back on patrol.
Not in this cold, Crash. The first hour I'm out there, what happens? These come off in my hands. Look.
Your ears.
Yeah, me ears. The second hour I'm out there in that cold, this drops off in the snow. Look at this.
Gad, your nose.
Yeah, me nose. The third hour, I feel some lumps in my mittens. Here, pull my mittens off.
Okay, I will. Hey, what dropped?
Me finger. The ear's gone, my nose gone, now my finger's gone.
Get yourself together, Crash.
Half of me is laying on the floor.
Well, pick up your fingers and go.
Okay, I'm going. I tell you, I never seen it this cold before, but once.
Where was that?
In Florida.
This is bad business, Admiral. This cold will ruin the men's morale.
Cold. Don't mention cold again, Tompkins. The word cold is taboo from now on. Call in the men. I'm telling them to. Blow the assembly horn.
Yes, sir.
If Crest shoots off his mouth before it drops off, he can start a mutiny. I'm stopping this cold talk right now.
Here's the boys coming, sir.
Come in, fellas.
Blow assembly horn.
Men of the Allen expedition, attention.
Yes, sir.
Now, men, there's a rumor around camp that this cold is getting you down, is it?
Yes, sir.
Now, we knew when we come down here to the pole it was going to be powerful cold, didn't we?
Yes, sir.
Now, just because it's worse than we expected, are we going to let it lick us, men?
Yes, sir.
Now, hold on. That ain't the spirit, men.
Oh, yeah? We want to get back to civilization.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. This ain't mutiny, men.
It ain't cooperation. Nobody can stand this cold.
Yeah, it's in you. All right, men. If you want to scuttle the Admiral's expedition, I'm licked. I'll contact America shortwave and get them to send us a rescue ship.
Now you're talking.
That's all right, boys. I'll turn on my radio. Hello, America! Hello, America!
Hello, Barney. Who is calling?
Is this Radio City, New York?
This is Irving Goldfarb, the Bronx, a shortwave fan.
You one of them ham operators?
Please, a wheel operator. I'm not even using ham in conversation.
Now listen, Goldfarb. This is Admiral Allen at the South Pole.
Oh, glad to know you, Admiral. This is Irving of Irving's Delicatessen.
I need a rescue ship. I'm out of food.
Food? I am immediately sending out my boy a special order of assorted cold cuts.
Cold cuts?
Yeah.
Why, that propaganda spreading hypocrite. Give me that harpoon, somebody.
What's the matter with the cold cuts?
I'll hack this radio to bits.
Bye.
Cold.
I'm stabbed.
Cold.
Goldfarb signing off to get her lawyer.
Cold cuts. He's sending us cold.
Admiral, you've ruined the expedition's radio.
Now we can't get no rescue ship.
I said what I'd do if I heard that word cold again, and I done it.
Well, what are we going to do, Admiral?
We're marooned here now. I'm wishing we had him. Instead of... I'm putting no time for ad-libbing, men. We're dealing... I'm putting you men under martial law. The first man that mentions cold again gets shot.
Well, we wouldn't mention it, sir, if we had some food.
All right, men. I give in. You boys can have Daisy. Tompkins,
Yes,
go
sir.
out to the cookhouse. Tell Pierre to cancel them overshoes. Tell him to cook up Daisy the cow.
Yes, sir. Pierre will finally have a chance to prepare one of his famous sauces. I'm off.
Now, there's going to be steaks for everybody. What do you say, man?
Yum.
Are you shivering, Cutler?
I'm shivering with joy, Admiral. That ain't the cold.
I told you, Cutler, I'm shooting the first man that mentions cold.
I'm sorry, sir.
Now, this is my last warning, men, and this goes for everybody. The next man as mentions cold is a goner.
Well, come and get it, gentlemen.
Yeah. What's the idea bringing that raw cow in here?
Well, Tompkins say you are in a hurry, no?
But you ain't even cooked, Daisy. All you done is peel off her hide.
Mais oui, the raw meat is nothing. Pierre has made the sauce on top. The sauce par excellence.
Let me see that sauce.
Oui.
Why, you no-good left-bank hash-slinger.
Admiral.
You frog-eating, double-dealing, calorie conniver.
Admiral, not the gun.
Yes, the gun. Take this, Pierre Flambeau.
No! Bonsoir.
Bone riddance.
Admiral, are you crazy?
I know what I'm doing.
But you've killed our cook. We'll starve to death.
I said I'd kill the man who mentioned the temperature again, didn't I?
Yes, sir, but I didn't hear Pierre say anything about the cold.
He didn't say it, but he hinted at it.
Hinted?
What do you mean?
Take a look at the sauce on top of that cow, man.
Sauce?
Yes, it's chili. Thank you. Before we preview the outstanding lulls in next week's program, we'd like you to know that one winter, 25,000 years ago, Confucius say,
Cold in head is not to be sneezed at.
and this winter, Harry Von Zell say,
No cold, no matter how slight, should ever be neglected. At the very first sign of a cold, put 2 teaspoonfuls of sal hepatica in a glass of water and drink it. Because sparkling sal hepatica helps fight colds faster. There are 2 very good reasons why it does, and you can check them with your own doctor.
First, sal hepatica is speedy, yet it's very gentle, and speed is mighty important in fighting a cold. Second, and just as important, this famous saline laxative also helps nature counteract the acidity that so frequently accompanies a cold.
Remember, in a recent survey, it was found that 7 out of 10 doctors recommend a saline laxative in treating a cold. And sal hepatica, we believe, is America's outstanding saline laxative. So for faster action against colds, get a bottle of gentle, quick-acting sal hepatica at any drugstore.
well, we're a little late. I won't have time to say good night, so good, ladies and gentlemen.
This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Fred always got cut off at the end of the shows along the way. Fred Allen, 85 years ago, February 28, 1940. Fred could not really get settled in on television in his own show. There was an attempt to do a show called Judge for Yourself. A pilot is shot, and it's up on YouTube, of another show called and it's a quiz show, Take Your Choice, that he did with his beautiful wife, Portland Hoppa, but that show never went anywhere. And, Fred and television just didn't get along. It wasn't until he settled in on the What's My Line panel that Fred really found his niche in television. Unfortunately, Fred's passing and Fred was not very healthy in his declining years. He passed away March 17th, 1956. He was just 61 years old. Alrighty, Classic Radio Theater tomorrow on the podcast, on our Saturday edition, will be a mixture. I had intended it to be all drama, but I didn't realize until I edited it into the scripts and stuff that the Screen Directors Playhouse production of Before an Affair was a comedy. Marlene Dietrich in a comedy? Go figure. The love affair between an army officer and a beautiful ex-Nazi in occupied Berlin, and a meddling congresswoman from Iowa. So we'll have the Screen Directors Playhouse tomorrow. We'll have an episode of Suspense. Sherry Jackson stars in an episode entitled The Screaming Woman. Then an episode of Quiet Please starring Ernest Chappell, and the sketch for a screenplay. And then we'll wrap that all up with another episode of Claudia. That'll be our Saturday show. More comedy on Sunday with George and Gracie, Amos and Andy, Phil and Alice, Edgar and Charlie, and Superman. No comedy there in that one. And then we'll get back to Monday with more comedy on Monday. The Paleface, Screen Directors Playhouse production of same, starring one Robert Hope. Also, You Bet Your Life, starring Groucho. We will also have an episode of Fibber and Molly from 1942, and Abbott and Costello. That'll get us started into the new week here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Okay, coming up next, a 1937 edition of The Jack Benny Show.
Two weeks, 14 days, 326 hours. Every second that your family could be exposed to radiation after a nuclear attack. Radiation that kills.
To survive, a fallout shelter is a necessity. Equipment and supplies are essential.
Now, Survive All Shelters, one of the nation's leading manufacturers of fallout shelters, offers a basic equipment kit with
a Conelrad high-powered radio, transistor operated for long battery life,
a complete, fully stocked first aid kit,
a heavy-duty fire extinguisher, emergency water containers, a chemical toilet for protection against contamination and disease,
extra-strength Saran and Rayon bunks,
a radiation meter, and individual dosimeters.
For protection every second of each hour of every day. See a Survive All Shelter now.
Civil defense information and information about the interesting story of Survival is in the show notes. Survival, and then you can find that there. Or you can go to classicradio.stream if the show notes aren't clickable for you. You can find that information over at classicradio.stream. Once I seem to think, and a lot of people think, that between the Jell-O shows and the Lucky Strike shows, and the change of the writers for the show made a difference in the way Jack was perceived during the years. He still stayed the stingy character. He still stayed the vain character. He still stayed 39, although he was 38 and 37 for a number of years before that. But when you find shows like this is going back 88 years, February 28, 1937, and you will find Jack kind of being a different character. Let me know what you think. This, as I said, is from 88 years ago, February 28th, 1937, The Jell-O Show, starring, hello, my friends,
J-E-L-L-O. The Jell-O program, starring Jack Benny with Phil Harris and his orchestra. The orchestra opens the program with Gee, But You're Swell. These days, we all like to have lunch or dinner at a good restaurant once in a while. And in good restaurants everywhere, you'll find that you can enjoy genuine Jell-O for dessert just as you do at home. For instance, we have just had a very complimentary letter from the nationally famous Child's Restaurants, which we think will interest you. It says, quote, "You will be pleased to know that as a result of tests made in the Child's Research Laboratory, Jell-O was selected for use in all our flavored gelatin desserts. We find that Jell-O has a superior flavor, and for this reason it is the only gelatin dessert served in Child's Restaurants. It is our aim to serve our patrons the highest quality in every line, and that we feel in gelatin desserts means genuine Jell-O. Signed, L.G. Dutton, Vice President, the Child's Company." We're mighty pleased and proud to receive this letter, and remember, whether you order Jell-O in a restaurant or from your own grocer, always be sure you get genuine Jell-O.
Arrived in New York okay, but the train trip was terrible as there was nothing but trunks and suitcases in my car. She must have gotten in the baggage car by mistake. New York City is just the same as...
What are you reading, Jack?
Oh, it's a letter from Mary. Gosh, it seems lonesome tonight without her, doesn't it, Doc?
Oh, it sure does.
You know, I kind of miss her, too. The program doesn't seem the same without Mary.
Not so loud, Phil. She's probably listening in. There's no use spoiling her.
What does she say in her letter, Jack?
Well, it's a little personal, Don. You know, she wouldn't want me to read it to everybody.
Oh, go ahead.
All right. Dear Jack, Don, Phil, Kenny, and everybody. Arrived in New York. Oh, I read that, yeah. She says, I got in Chicago on time and stopped there for 3 hours between trains. Believe me, it's no fun standing between trains. You get cinders all over you. And she certainly takes things literally, doesn't she? Enjoyed the ride to New York. The train had a streamline, and so did that salesman I met. But don't worry, I can take care of myself, and anyway, he got off at Cleveland.
That's
good. She's writing form there. When I arrived at Grand Central Station, a great big man rushed up, threw his arms around me, and kissed me. Was I disappointed when I found out it was my uncle? I am stopping at the Hotel Lombardi, which is just 1,500 miles up the street from the Miami Biltmore. I hope she doesn't try to go in swimming. And Mama, Papa, and Brother Hillard came in from Plainfield, and we went to Aunt Rose's new wedding last night. Papa was going to wear his full dress suit with the tails, but when he took it out of the closet, he found that the moths had eaten it into a tuxedo. Well, not bad. Yeah. This afternoon, while passing Radio City, I ran into Fred Allen. He spoke about you, and believe me, that's no way to talk in front of a lady. I was going to slap his face, but he was chewing tobacco, so I thought twice. Anyway, he invited me to lunch, but made me pay my own check. I couldn't do anything about it, though, as he claimed his invitation wasn't in writing. Same old Allen.
Oh, he's not that tight.
He's not, eh? Listen, fellas. Have you ever played poker with Allen?
No.
Well, if you ever do, watch out. He plays a very conservative game. Come here a minute. When he opens the pot, you can throw away 4 kings. No kidding. Really, I'm not kidding. Not only that, he cheats, too. I remember one time I caught him sending out 3 white chips to be dyed.
Oh, Jack. Jack, you're exaggerating.
Well, maybe it was only 2 chips. I don't know.
Well, go ahead, Jack, with Mary's letter.
Okay. I am writing this letter in the lobby of the hotel, and the swellest-looking fellow is sitting opposite me. He just smiled, which explains this blot. She's probably kidding. That nice man just smiled again, so we'll close wishing good luck to you and me. Yours faithfully, Mary. Hey, that was cute, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hello, fellers.
Hi,
Kenny.
Say, Jack, I got a surprise for you.
What is it?
Well, I knew Mary wasn't going to be here, so I brought my girl Lena to help out with the program.
Well, that's very nice of you, Kenny. We need help. Oh, there she is. Hello, Lena. How are you?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Isn't she clever, Jack?
Yeah, well,
that's only part of it. Now, here's a joke we made up. This'll kill you. Go ahead, Lena, ask him.
Is this going to be funny?
We think so. Go ahead, Lena.
All right. What's the difference between Mary Livingston and the Queen Mary?
Well, the question is clever. Go ahead, Lena. What is the difference between Mary Livingston and the Queen Mary?
Mary Livingston is a girl, and the Queen Mary is a boat.
What's funny about that, Kenny?
Gee, don't you get it? Mary isn't a boat.
Oh, am I surprised? I must tell her to keep out of water.
Yeah. Now, Lena, do that laugh like Mary does. And, Jack, you ask her what she's laughing at.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lena. Laugh like Mary. Now ask her, Jack.
All right. What are you laughing at, Lena?
You, who wouldn't?
Ain't she a panic?
Yeah, panic meaning disaster. Yeah, thanks, Kenny. And now Phil Harris will play...
Hey, wait a minute, Jack. We got one more.
Oh.
Give it to him, Lena.
Mr. Benny, if I gained 50 pounds, what would I be?
I don't know. What would you be, Lena?
Fatter.
Wow!
Did you get it, Jack? Lena fatter?
Yeah, just like your head up. Play a fella. Mary, come home. All is forgiven. Melancholy Baby, played by the orchestra and directed by Phil Harris, who came back from the Santa Anita racetrack yesterday as fast as he could walk. Say, Phil, your orchestra sounds a little softer than usual tonight. What happened?
Well, Jack, I bet my trombone player on Seabiscuit and lost.
Oh, well, that's too bad. Huh?
Doggone it, every horse I bet on loses by a nose.
Well, you'll either have to get hotter tips or longer horses.
Yeah.
One or the other. Like that, huh? Well, they must have lost two out there. I can see that.
Say, Jack, how did you make out in the handicap?
Not so good, Phil. Unfortunately, the horse I bet on just got over the flu and was afraid of crowds.
Yeah.
But Phil, when it comes to gambling, I'm a pretty good sport, and I don't mind when my horse lags behind. But when he walks over the rail and takes a bite of my hot dog, that's going a little too far. You think so?
So you learned your lesson, eh?
Yes, sir. The next horse I bet on will have to have a diesel engine in him.
Say, what are you fellas talking about?
Oh, nothing much, Don.
Is it important?
No.
Well, Jell-O is. Ladies and gentlemen, when you are considering a tempting dessert to top off your meal, decide on Jell-O because it has that new extra-rich fresh fruit flavor, and it tastes twice as good as ever before. Hooray for Rosemont!
Yes, with the big red letters on the jockey. Say, what is this, a racetrack or a program? Oh, come in.
Hello, Jick Barney.
Yes, what can I do for you?
Well, pardon the interruption, Poopsie, but I'm a detective.
A detective, eh?
You said it. A bloodhound with a dialect.
Well, what do you want?
I'm under the impression that you lost a violin. Is this correct?
A vial, yes. Did you find it?
Did you offer a reward?
Yes.
Then I found it. Here you are.
Well. Hey, fellas, look. My violin. What do you know? Well, say, it sure is my violin, all right. Say, you know, fellas, I knew I'd get it back tonight. Virtue triumphs.
Then you're going to play the bee, eh?
Am I? Listen, fellas, this is the night of nights. Not only will I redeem myself in the eyes of my listeners, but I'll make Fred Allen hang his head so low he'll have to get an extra shoe for his nose. And it won't be any size 2 either.
Oh, his nose isn't that long, Jack.
It's long enough to reach clear to Hollywood and to my affairs.
Listen, Jack, why don't you forget the bee and play something popular?
Well, what song would you like to hear?
Pennies from Herring.
Herring? That's heaven.
You're telling me. Well, Mr. Benny, to put it bluntly, how's about the compensation?
Oh, yes, the reward. Here you are, my good man. A nice, new, green, crisp, crinkly $1 bill.
Adjectives he gives me.
Oh, you don't want it, eh?
Don't jump at conclusions.
Well, it's all you're going to get, $1. Here.
Thank you. I'll put it in my wallet.
That's a nice wallet. I thought it was your check. Well, goodbye, Mr. Say, what's your name?
That I can tell you.
Why not?
There's a reward for me, too.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, goodbye.
Goodbye. What a chiseler. Fred Allen is right.
Well, boys, it cost me $1 to get my violin back, but it was worth every penny of it. Oh, Kenny, how about singing your song while I get all set for my number?
Okay, Jack. Are you really going to play the bee?
Am I going to play the bee? Did Columbus turn back in the middle of the Atlantic?
I don't know.
Did Washington hesitate before crossing the Delaware?
I don't know.
Did Admiral Dewey retreat at Manila?
3 strikes, I'm out.
Then sing, Kenny. I'm going to play the bee.
So proper and polite upon this lovely night, we sit here making foolish conversation. Instead of being bright, let's be ourselves tonight and take advantage of the situation. The night is young and you're so beautiful here among the shadows, beautiful lady. Open your heart. The scene is set, the breezes sing of it. Can't you get into the swing of it, lady? When do we start? When the lady is kissable and the evening is cool, any dream is permissible in the heart of a so glamorous, and if I seem over amorous, lady, what can I do? The night is young, and I'm in love with
Johnny Baker singing The Night is Young and You're So Beautiful. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment has arrived. The moment when I will erase all verbal stains and oral blemishes from the once illustrious name of Jack Benny. Of course, after concluding my selection to be Mr. Allen, who even thinks that wrestling is crooked, will no doubt accuse me of trickery. To nip such a possibility in the bud, I will pass through our studio audience, and you folks can observe for yourselves that I have only a violin in one hand and a bow in the other.
Attaboy, Jack.
Quiet, I wouldn't trust you either. I further wish to state that there is nothing hidden up my sleeve and no accomplices, either mechanical or human, in this auditorium. Now for my first trick, solo, come in.
Hello, Buck.
Oh, hi, Andy. Hey, you got here just in time.
Yep, and when I heard that you got your fiddle back, I ran up here as fast as I could.
Well, that was nice of you.
Say, Buck, I was sure surprised when I heard Mary went to New York.
Yeah, she left last week for a short vacation.
Doggone it, I'm sorry I missed her. I wanted to kiss her goodbye.
Well, Andy, you can kiss her when she gets back.
Yeah, she'll be rested up then and can take it.
One thing I like about you, Andy, you don't brag.
What's that?
That's Kenny's girl, Lena. I know you thought it was the radiator. Lena, you know Andy Devine.
Oh, sure, the man that talks like Donald Duck.
Donald Duck, that's pretty good, huh?
Well, we're doing all right. We're both in pictures.
Yeah. Well, Andy, I'm glad you came up to the studio tonight. You know, you're going to hear me play the bee and make out a fool out of that town hall Sandman. And you know what the Sandman does.
Yeah.
Did you hear him last Wednesday when he said a buzzard brought me instead of a stork?
A buzzard?
Yeah.
Oh, doggone it, I thought he said blizzard. Now I gotta get mad all over again.
Why don't I get funny lines like that?
Why don't I get any lines?
Please, fellows. Well, the time is growing short. My fingers are just itching to wander over those violin strings, so let's get going. Andy, you sit right down in front and enjoy yourself.
Okay, Buck, can I applaud now in case I fall asleep?
No, I'll have to take that chance, Andy. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before going into my number, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the man who will share my glory tonight. My accompanist, that eminent pianist, Rachmaninoff T. Smith. Take a bow, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. And my price is still $10.
Oh. I tried to get him for 8, folks, but he's got me in a spot. Well, hand me that violin, Kenny.
Here you are, Jack.
I'll even take that line.
Hey, what's the matter with you, Phil?
Well, I want to be an actor.
Well, you're on the wrong program.
With my talent, yes.
Well... Well, it's pretty good for an old violin, isn't it? Huh?
So you're really going to play the bee this time, eh, Jack?
John, I can't get out of it. I'm raring to go. Come on, introduce me, and remember that Jell-O isn't playing this number. Now, wait till I tune up, just...
Sounds pretty good from here. Is all right? Okay, Jack. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jack Benny will now play Schubert's immortal classic, The Bee.
If you please, Professor. right, fellas, it was nothing at all. Well, what now, Mr. Allen? Play, Phil, I did. You were in a tough spot. That was Panamania from Swing High, Swing Low, played by Phil Harris and his orchestra. And very good, Phil, very good. Not a classic, perhaps, but quite well done.
Say, Jack.
Yes, Kenny?
When are you going to play the bee?
I just played it.
Yeah, but you clipped its wings.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, when you came to the hard part, you switched to Plenty of Money and You.
Well, there was a detour sign on my music. And furthermore, Phil, you've been acting a bit uppity lately. Are you dissatisfied with your job here? Are you unhappy in our little group? I mean, are you seeking greener postures?
No, greener money.
Oh. Well, let me tell you something, Phil. Oh, excuse me a minute. There's the phone. Keep the argument going, Kenny.
Now listen, Phil, who do you think I am?
Now, never mind, Kenny. I'll pick up the argument later. Never mind. Don't bother. Hello? Hello? Oh, hello, Mary. How are you, honey? It's Mary, fellas. You did? Well, I'm glad you liked it. I played it the best I could. Of course, right in the middle of the number, I found out one of my strings was dental floss. Which was all right. I just had dinner. Are you having a good time in New York? Well, I do, too, but I don't see how I can get away from here. Well, anyway, Mary, have a good time and come back soon. Yeah. Yeah, everybody sends their love. Yes, I will. Yeah. Yeah, goodbye, dear. Goodbye. Hello? What's that, operator? Yes, I'll accept the charges. Yeah. You know, fellas, gee, it must be nice in New York right now. Gee, after talking to Mary, I'd love to go there for a couple of weeks.
So would I.
Me too.
You know, Buck, I've never been to New York.
Well, don't cry, Andy. You haven't?
No.
Well, that last one was a laugh, wasn't it? Well, Andy, you get a big kick out of it. No, really, you would. You'd love it. You know, you could take a subway and see the whole town. You know. Hey, wait a minute, fellas. You know, I got an idea. Listen, get away from the microphone, fellas. I don't want Mary to hear this. What? You know what I'd like to do? Now, wait a minute. Stuff up. Get away from the mic. I'd like to surprise Mary, hop on a train, and join her in New York.
New York?
Quiet! John, stuff up those microphones.
Okay, Jack.
Now, wait a minute. Can everybody make the trip?
I can. It's okay with me,
How about you, Phil?
Well, I'll have to join you later.
Shall I take my trainer along?
No, Andy, they have hotels in New York. 2 of them. Now, wait a minute. Listen, we'll arrange this right away. I'll call up the station now and make our reservations. And, Don, while I'm ordering the tickets, you make a lot of noise about Jell-O or anything, but make it loud. I don't want Mary to hear this.
Right, Jack, right.
Go ahead. Hello? Operator, get me the... Go ahead, Tom.
I'm glad to have this opportunity to tell you about Jell-O, the fastest-selling gelatin dessert on the market.
Hello, ticket office?
It is first in favor
Well, this
because
is Jack
it's first
Benny.
in
I want to
flavor,
reserve
and it comes
6
in
tickets
6
leaving
delicious
Tuesday night
flavors:
for New York.
strawberry, raspberry, cherry,
Yeah, one drawing
orange,
room,
lemon,
2
and lime.
compartments, and
So
2
be sure to
loaves.
ask for Jell-O by name.
Yes,
Look
round
for
for
the big
tickets.
red
We'll be
letters
coming
on
back.
the box.
What? No, not 6 delicious flavors, 6 tickets. No, the name is not Raspberry, it's Jack Berry. Jack Benny. Yeah, that's it. Okay, thank you. Goodbye. Well, fellas, it's all set. Oh, boy, I could just see the look on Mary's face when we popped in on her. Yeah, I can hardly wait. I'm going right home now and pack. Are you going to take your trunk, Kenny?
No, my trunk's been to New York.
Well, then don't bother. Oh, boy, just imagine that. 2 weeks to New York. Broadway.
Times Square.
Columbus Circle.
Tin Pan Alley.
42nd Street.
Grant's Tomb.
Flying Pit.
Everybody loves parties, and here's a party dessert that you can serve every day. It looks mighty festive, and it's no trouble to prepare because it's another delicious dessert that's made with Jell-O. It's called Strawberry Snow, and this is how you make it. Dissolve 1 package of strawberry Jell-O in 1 pint of hot water. Then chill until cold and syrupy and place in a bowl of ice or ice water. Add 1 egg white and whip with a rotary egg beater until fluffy. Mold or pile in sherbet glasses and chill. It's a feast for the eye, a treat for the taste, with tempting true fruit flavor to please everybody. So give everyday dinners a party touch. Have Strawberry Snow for dessert one night this week. But be sure you make it with the real thing. Genuine Jell-O with the extra rich, fresh fruit flavor. Look for the big red letters on the box. They spell Jell-O.
This is the last number of the 22nd program in the new Jell-O series, and we'll be with you again next Sunday night at the same time, broadcasting from New York City. The detective on the program was played by Pat C. Flick through the courtesy of Warner Brothers.
Say, Jack, why can't we leave for New York right now?
No, we'll have to wait till Tuesday night because I'm dropping in on Ben Burney's program first.
Well, why are you still whispering?
I want to surprise Ben, too. Good night, folks.
J-E-L-L-O. The tune was Plenty of Money in Use from the Gold Diggers of 1937. The Night is Young and You Are So Beautiful from Casa Manana. And I've Got My Love to Keep Me Warm from Irving Berlin's score of On the Avenue. This program has come to you from Hollywood, California, through the facilities of the Red Network of the National Broadcasting Company.
Jack Benny was actually a passable violin player. Not a great player, but a passable player. And let's face it, he raised nearly $6 million for symphonies by performing as a guest soloist for benefit concerts. So, you know, he did okay during that. It was obvious he was not superstar professional level, but he was pretty darn good. You know, in his early days, he would play the violin on the stage, but he just didn't practice enough, and he enjoyed the performing more than practicing. He never became the great violin virtuoso his family thought he could be. But he did become a great entertainer. And his family has said, he said, that if he had the choice, if in fact it was on the Johnny Carson show, he said that if God came to him and said, Jack, and he says, you know, he knows practically everybody. And he said it just that way, except maybe a little better delivery. But he said, if you had the choice of being a violin virtuoso or being a comedian, but you always had to do one and never the other, he said he'd play the violin. But I think it's one of those things where you have to practice it when you're young. And it's like today. I could not pick up an instrument today and play the way I did when I was in my 20s because I haven't practiced anything for nigh on to 30 or 40 years. It takes frequent practice for that to happen. So there you go. Alrighty, let's see, where were we here? Oh, that was from 37 years ago, February 28th, 1937, Jack Benny here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Visit our webpage, classicradio.stream. I've been looking to try to do polls here on our Facebook pages, and Facebook no longer lets pages do polls. So what I'd like for you to do is drop us a note through our, go to classicradio.stream. You've got our Facebook and our Twitter feeds there, and leave us a message on either Facebook or Twitter and let us know if you want us to do these specials for some of these great radio performers, putting all of the number of their performances in a single spot. That's at classicradio.stream. We have not played anything with Goodman and Jane Ace in, oh my gosh, it's almost 10 years. 9 or 10 years since we played any Goodman and Jane Ace. We're going to do it today with an episode of their half-hour show from 1948. And you can hear the long-suffering Goodman Ace and his malaprop-laden wife, Jane. That's next.
Trained people are needed to meet disasters. To fill this need, the United States Office of Civil Defense, in cooperation with the United States Office of Education and local school systems, is offering a 12-hour course called Personal and Family Survival. The course includes discussions on the effects of radioactive fallout, how to plan for and live in fallout shelters, and what to do after a nuclear attack. To learn more about personal and family survival, consult your local civil defense director.
In the early years, when Classic Radio Theater was USA Classic Radio Theater on the now defunct USA Radio Network, we carried a number of the 15-minute programs of Goodman and Jane Ace. Naturally, they were fairly poor quality, and very few of those I have of good enough quality to put in the podcast today. But I did find a half-hour episode of the married couple together. Goodman Ace, a frequent writer of radio programs, and Jane Ace, his long-suffering, Goodman was the suffering one. Jane was just scatterbrained, and she suffered from what a lot of us would call today Norm Crosby disease, the use of malaprops, and that sort of thing. And you'll hear that today in Mr. Ace and Jane, an episode going back 77 years rather, September 26, 1948.
New York City, the Columbia Broadcasting System, in cooperation with the United States Army and the United States Air Force Recruiting Service, presents the new Mr. Ace and Jane program, a weekly half-hour comedy series starring radio's original comedy couple, the Aces. Once again, the strains of Manhattan Serenade introduce the story of Mr. Ace and his wife, Jane. Tonight, Chapter 3, entitled, Mr. Ace Tells Jane He's Bringing Home an Important Client to Dinner and warns Jane to be careful of what she says. And Jane replies, Don't worry, I've got more brains in my little finger than I have in my entire head. And during dinner, she proves it. Or, as Mr. Ace puts it,
How to grow old gracefully in 1 hour.
the most fantastic thing happened to me. I'll tell you about it in just a minute.
You know, America's young men are the biggest, healthiest, best educated young men in the world. Even so, the standards of today's Army and Air Force are so high that only 60% of these fine men can be accepted when they volunteer. Doesn't that give you a pretty good idea of the type of men that make up today's Army and Air Force? Well, if you need more proof, take a good, long look at the next soldier you see. Neat, clean-cut, resolute. Yes, you can put this in your pipe and smoke it. He's helping to do the most important job there is in America today. Yes, Mr. Ace, what was that you were going to tell us?
There comes a time in every man's life when he has to bring a prospective customer home to dinner. In a situation like that, a man likes to think of his wife as the little woman who helps him close the deal. I like to think of Jane that way. Excuse me a minute while I do. Well, enough daydreaming. Even after 15 years of marriage, I still haven't learned enough to keep Jane out of my business affairs. I admit she always has my interest at heart.
I always have his interest at heart.
To help me put over a deal is to her a crowning achievement.
To help him put over a deal is to me a crowning achievement.
She's got me in the hollow of her hand.
I've got him in the hollow of my head.
This all started the other evening when we had just finished dinner. I had just polished off my second bowl of farina. Ulcers, you know. Advertising business. When once again I made the mistake of asking for Jane's help with a business client.
A client for dinner? Oh, wonderful, dear. I love having your clients for dinner. Remember the last client we had? Whatever became of him?
The psychiatrist says he'll be okay in another year.
He was more fun than a barrel.
Yes.
Did you ever get his advertising account, dear?
Well, yes, finally. No thanks to you.
You're welcome, dear. Now, who's this man we're going to work on now?
Well, this man happens to be one of the biggest soap manufacturers in the business. It's the biggest account our agency ever tried to get. And, Jane, look, let's do this upright. I'd like to impress this man. And his wife, she's coming, too. Let's get a maid for that night when they come here, huh?
A maid?
They're going to be here Friday night.
Oh, dear, why do we need a maid? Aren't you satisfied with my cooking?
Oh, of course I am. That's not the point.
Aren't you satisfied with my housekeeping?
Jane, the point is I want to impress these people. Now, will you go up to the employment agency and get a maid for Friday night?
Dear, I just want to ask you one question point blank. Answer yes or no. When did you first become dissatisfied with my housekeeping?
Yes.
Oh, so you are?
No, I mean no. Well, I mean, you said answer yes or... isn't that awful? Why do I...
Well, I guess I'll have to take the bitter with the better.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do it. But it's going to be embarrassing when I explain to them there's nothing wrong with my housekeeping. That we're just putting on the rich.
Okay, Rich. Explain it if you have to.
Who are these people we're putting on the rich for?
I told you, he makes one of the most popular kitchen soaps in the country. You know that soap called Did? Did soap? That's what he makes.
He does?
No, Did. Don't mention any other soap in front of him. He gets furious.
He does?
Not does, Jane. Watch your language. Well, you're all witnesses. All I said to Jane was, hire a maid, simple. I mean, simple, isn't it? But she had to worry about what the employment agency might think. When Jane walked in, the man at the agency was calm and collected. That is, he was calm at first. They collected him later.
Good morning, madam. I'm Mr. Bennett, and what may I do for you?
Just fine.
Yes. Is someone taking care of you?
Yes, there is, but he doesn't appreciate me.
What?
First, I like to say I'm a wonderful cook, and I keep the house spotless. I wash, I mop, and I dust.
So?
Yes, and I sew.
No, I mean, so what? So what can I do for you?
Well, isn't this an employment agency?
Oh, of course, and I think I have just the woman for you. Oh, Mrs. Dale?
Yes?
Would you step over here, please? This young lady just came in, and from what she's told me, I think she might be just what you're looking for.
How do you do, my dear? I'm pleased to meet your acquaintance. First, I want to say I'm a wonderful cook, and I keep the house spotless. I wash, I mop, and I dust. And the only reason I'm doing this is because of my husband.
Oh, you're married?
And who?
You mean at how?
No, and who do you think sent me here?
Oh, I see. Your husband.
Yes.
Tell me, my dear, have you had much experience?
Oh, yes, I've had quite... No, I'm supposed to ask you that.
Mr. Bennett, what does she say?
I'm sure I don't know. Young lady...
Oh, what do you mean you don't know? If I'm going to hire a maid, the least I can do is ask her if she's had experience, and if I'm wrong, I'm not far from it.
What? You're hiring me? Mr. Bennett, I was never so insulted in all my life.
Mrs. Dale, I'm awfully sorry this happened. I thought she wanted a job as a maid.
Well, so did I. To think she'd mistake me for a maid.
But she said she could do housework.
Oh, I get it now. I thought she wanted a job as a maid, and she thought I was vice versa. What a merry mix-up. A man to be a maid. But why not? This would show him somebody appreciates my housekeeping.
After all,
To be or not to be. That is the
how was
question.
I to know?
I'll be. Mrs. Dale, I'll do it.
What?
I'll take the job.
You will?
Yes.
Well, that's wonderful. Can you come now?
No sooner said the better.
Oh, good. I have the car and chauffeur. My home is on Long Island. What's your name, my dear?
Jane Sherwood.
Sherman?
No, Sherwood, my maiden name. Oh, my maiden name. That's cute, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, we're going to get along fine, Mrs. Dale. We'll be like a couple of Simonized twins.
And so Jane was taken for a ride in a big black sedan. Taken for a ride. Hey, excuse me while I toy with that idea. Oh, there I go, daydreaming again. While the Simonized twins were winging their way over to Long Island, I was at my office conferring with my boss. That would be J.K. Norris of Sutton, Dutton, Mutton, and Norris. Advertising agency. What else? When Mr. Norris talks, he shoots proverbs at you like bullets. This morning he was particularly full of bullets. We were talking about landing the new Did soap account.
You can catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar, I always say.
I told him that's why I was having the client to dinner.
The way to a man's heart is through his stomach, I always say.
I said we'd have a big roast turkey.
A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, I always say.
And when I said the dinner would be a turkey, I didn't know I wasn't kidding. Mr. Norris was in my office giving it to me hot and heavy.
Now, Mr. Ace, I cannot impress upon you too strongly the importance of the new Did soap account. You know yourself what an eccentric client TJ is.
I know.
So I don't want anything to go wrong at that dinner, Mr. Ace. There's many a slip twixt cup and lip, I always say.
Yes, I know, Mr. Norris. But there's nothing going wrong. Jane has even gone over to hire a maid for the occasion.
Good. Oh, yes, one thing is very, very important. To TJ, there's nothing else in life but Did soap. He sleeps it, he dreams it, he eats it.
Maybe we shouldn't have turkey.
What was that?
I say I know how important Did soap is to TJ.
Important? Why do you think TJ's changing advertising agencies now? Only because one of the account executives over at Swinburne, Marshall, Warwick, Tadwater, Kensington, Hollingswood, and Vine made the mistake of mentioning a competitive soap in TJ's presence.
No kidding. Who did that?
I don't know. It was either Swinburne, Marshall, Warwick, Tadwater, Kensington, Hollingswood, or Vine. One of them mentioned another soap.
No, but we'll be very careful. Don't worry about anything, Mr. Norris. Jane is making all the arrangements. Everything will be just fine.
Well, if it isn't, this account will go to our competitors, Smith & Walters.
Smith & Walters, an advertising agency with only two names? Not a chance. Are you kidding? Quote, don't worry about anything, Mr. Norris. Jane is making all the arrangements and everything will be just fine. Unquote. That's what I said. That's what the man said. Well, when I got home that evening, I was anxious to learn how Jane did with hiring the maid. I opened the door, and I said, Jane. And she said, but she wasn't home. And the phone was going like mad. Hello?
Hello, dear.
Jane, where are you?
Just fine.
Jane, why aren't you home? What's happened?
Well, dear, to make a long story.
Don't make a long story. Where are you?
On Long Island.
Long Island? What are you doing out there?
I can't talk now. I've got to hurry and serve dinner.
Huh?
I've got an assistant, a Chinese houseboy. He's waiting for me to give him something to do. He ought to be useful as well as oriental. Dinner's in 10 minutes, and I've got to crack the ice for the blueprint oysters.
What number are you calling?
Isn't that you, dear?
Jane, what on earth are you talking about? Where are you? What did you do about hiring the maid?
I took the job myself.
You took what job?
I'm a maid. I'm going to do housework. If a certain person doesn't appreciate my housework, it's high noon somebody did. Do you miss me?
Jane, I told you I'm expecting a big client Friday night. You gotta be here.
Friday night? Can't make it, dear.
Can't make it, Jane. I've got to see you. When am I going to see you?
Thursday, Maid's day off.
Maid's day off? Jane, where are you?
Oh, I've got to hurry now, dear. The ice is getting cold. Goodbye, dear.
No. Hello. Jane, isn't that awful? Jane,
are you home? It's Ken. I've got something I want to...
Excuse me for stopping the action here, but I've got to introduce this new character. He's our next-door neighbor, Ken Roberts, radio announcer. You probably hear him on the radio all the time. Sounds like,
This show is brought to you by the Gizmo Company, America's foremost manufacturers. Yes, for over 100 years, the Gizmo Company has been manufacturing foremost.
Makes up commercials just to keep in voice.
Try a foremost. Or better still, try the large economy size, the five-most.
Jane can listen to him by the hour.
Remember, when using foremost, use caution. Caution comes in 6 delicious flavors. So, ladies, if foremost persists, see your doctor. If your doctor persists, use caution.
Now we can start the action again. Ken had just come in and said, Jane, I've got something I want to...
Oh, hello, where's Jane?
Jane had just taken a job... Oh, no, Ken, you won't believe this could happen.
Oh, sure I will. I'm in radio. Everything happens in radio. Don't you listen to those serials?
All right, cereal. Jane Ace, girl pressure cooker. Don't believe that.
What do you mean, girl pressure cooker?
I mean, she took a job as a maid on Long Island.
Maid? Gee, that's tough. I'm sorry to hear it. But that's the advertising business. One day you got a job, the next day your wife's working.
No, look, Ken, I did not lose my job. Jane just lost her head. All I know is I come home and find my wife's gone, and me slowly starving. Now I've got to get out to the kitchen and fix my dinner.
Well, maybe I can help you. I'll go with you. What would you like for dinner?
Well, let me see. I'd like some split pea soup, a steak with onions, mashed potatoes, apple pie, cheese, and coffee.
Gee, that sounds swell.
Yeah, doesn't it? Ken, hand me that box of farina.
How do you make farina?
Who knows? Let me see. I guess I better put this pan on the stove here.
Gee, I sure miss Jane. I wanted to read of this commercial I'm doing on a show tonight.
I guess it would be a shrewd move if I light this stove. Now, how do you do that?
Maybe I could rehearse it for you. Would it disturb you?
Disturb me? My wife working on Long Island as a maid with a bunch of Orientals diving for oysters with cracked ice and a big client coming to dinner on Friday and a turkey in the hand is worth 2 in the bush and you're going to disturb me? Read that commercial.
Well, this is a message for all former members of the Army's famous 3rd Division. Whenever the 3rd Division is mentioned, there's a look of pride on the faces of men who were members of that outfit during the war.
Where could I get a good mess sergeant?
Matter of fact, any veteran will agree that the 3rd stacked up with the best of them. And it's still the same today. The 3rd Division rates way up high with the men of our new Army. That's why it's great news that right now, you veterans of the 3rd may enlist directly in the 3rd Division's 7th Infantry Regimental Combat Team, now located at Fort Benning, Georgia.
Wonder where Jane's located.
Yes, sir, you may return to security, good pay, interesting work, and the opportunity for fast advancement right with your old outfit. And for you other veterans who meet today's high standards for enlistment, there's also a chance for you in the 7th RCT, if you act fast and enlist under the limited quota system for that unit. Remember, too, that if you're a veteran with a needed technical skill, you may qualify for enlistment in grade, depending on your training and length of service.
How do you light this stove here?
Any way any veteran looks at it, it's worth looking into the many opportunities offered by your regular Army. Your nearest recruiting office will help you make your choice.
Well, who'll help you make this farina? The next morning, I was having breakfast at my club.
Club breakfast number 2, 8 over.
But Jane was serving a sumptuous repast out on Long Island. The way she explained it to me later, the first one down for breakfast was the master of the house. And what happened between him and Jane was really one for the book. A book that would have been banned in Boston. It went something like this.
Good morning, my dear.
Just fine.
How does our new little maid like her job?
Good morning. Oh, I see you finished your orange juice. I didn't hear you. What can I give you now, Mr. Dale?
A little attention, my dear.
What?
My, what a pretty little hand.
Oh, I bet you say that to all the hired hands. Would you like some eggs, Mr. Dale?
Oh, come now, Janie. Let's not be so formal.
Oh, please, may I have my hand? Do you like your eggs scrambled, Mr. Dale?
I like our maids to call me Daddy. This job could be a very pleasant one, Janie, if you know what I mean, my dear.
Oh, that hurts. Do you like your eggs fried?
What color are your eyes, Janie?
Soft-boiled?
Oh, we're going to get along fine, aren't we? And you're going to call me Daddy, aren't you?
But please, Mr. Dale, after all, your wife is a married woman. And I think I hear her coming downstairs now.
Oh, yes. Well, I've got to get to my office.
Not a word about this, my dear. Just leave everything to Daddy. Not a word now.
I know. Dumb's the word.
Listen, my dear.
Tom, haven't you gone yet?
Just leaving, my dear. Have a nice day, my dear. Oh, yes. I'll see you at dinner.
Good morning, Jane.
Good morning, Mommy. Mrs. Dale. I was just taking my hand out to the kitchen. I was just...
Now, don't bother about me, my dear. I'll just have this glass of orange juice. My figure, you know.
Yes, isn't it?
Jane, come over here a moment.
I was just over there.
Now, about lunch today, Jane, I'm expecting, you see, about 2 or 3 days a week, I have lunch with a friend, a charming gentleman from South America. He's teaching me the language. Oh, it's such a romantic language.
Oh, oui.
Hey, we're taking up irregular verbs.
Oh, my.
And, it isn't that Mr. Dale would object. It's just that I'd rather, you understand, don't you, Jane?
You mean you want it to be strictly Auntie New and me?
Yes, strictly Auntie. Yes, strictly, my dear.
I get it. Dumb's the word again.
And so Jane was sworn in as a member of the Long Island Secret Service. Of course, of all the homes on Long Island, Jane had to get into the home of a couple of great neckers. But I had my own problems. First, I had to change the dinner date with the client from Friday to Thursday because my wife's day off was Thursday. Luckily, TJ said that would be okay. Then I called the employment agency and arranged for a maid for Thursday. Now all I had to do was get Jane on the phone. Not knowing where she was working, I was sitting in my office contemplating calling the whole Long Island phone book from A to Zabisco when the phone rang. Hello?
Hello, dear.
Oh, Jane, I was just thinking about you.
Just fine.
Jane, where are you? Are you back home?
No, I'm still maiding.
Maiding?
Do you miss me, dear?
Jane, look, I've changed the dinner date with my soap client to Thursday night because you can't make it Friday. This is the biggest deal I've ever tackled.
Oh, biggest deal. Is that all this means to you? You don't say a word about missing me.
All right, Jane, I miss you.
And can't get along without me?
All right, I can't get along without you.
And go ahead.
And what?
Go ahead, say everything that's in your heart.
Left ventricle, right ventricle, left orifice, right.
That's better. Oh, well, I've got to hang up now, dear. I've got to hurry back to maiding. I hear the call.
Well, I've got half a mind to skip the dinner scene. It was gruesome. But I went through it, and so can you. It won't hurt too much. You'll only age 3 or 4 years. Here's the setup. It's 5 minutes before our guests are due to arrive. The maid I hired is in the kitchen, and I'm briefing Jane in the living room. Now, look, Jane, when TJ gets here, we sit around for a few minutes and chat before dinner. And don't forget the name of his soap. Did soap.
I know the soap. That's all they use at Mr. and Mrs. Dale's where I work.
Yes, and be sure not to mention what was that? You didn't say Dale.
Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Dale. They've got more soap around
wait
the house.
just a minute. Which Dale?
Thomas Jefferson Dale.
TJ, you mean...
Is your collar too tight there?
Jane, tell me quick, you work for Thomas Jefferson Dale?
Yes. Do you know it?
That's my client. That's TJ. That's the man who's coming here tonight with his wife.
Well, of all well, dear, you can knock me down with a fender.
Don't tempt me. What do I do now? There goes my whole account.
Mrs. Ace, what time do you want me to start serving dinner? I want to be out of here by 9 o'clock. I hope this ain't one of them all-night affairs.
Just a minute, Helen. We're having a predicament.
A what?
Mr. Ace and I just found out we have some common friends.
Wait just a minute. Time is running out. Helen.
Yeah?
Look, Helen, I haven't time to explain now, but you've got to do me a big favor. Jane, I want you to take Helen's place in the kitchen. You be the maid. Helen, you've got to be my wife.
Now, just a minute.
Wait a minute now. There's an extra $5 in it for you. $5, please. You have to do this. Jane, take her apron. What are you standing there for?
Oh, I'm trying to figure it out. You want me to be the maid?
Yes, and you say you took a job here for one night on your night off. Helen, all you have to do is sit around and act as if you're Mrs. Ace.
Oh, I get it now. Well, that's pretty clever, dear. Do you think it'll work?
If it doesn't, I won't. Take your apron.
Give me your apron, Helen.
Okay, here, but everything's happening too fast for me.
Too fast. All you have to do is act like the lady of the house, like my wife. You can do that, can't you?
Like your wife? Sure. Straighten your tie. Stop biting your nails. Be careful of those
Okay. Don't overdo it. Now, Jane, get out to the kitchen.
Okay, dear. I hope they don't know me when I come out. I'll try to disguise my voice. Good luck, dear.
Good luck, she says. I'll have to throw a 7 the hard way. Oh, the door. I'll get it, Helen. Are you okay?
I don't know what hit me, but I'll do the best I can.
Okay. Well, here goes nothing. Well, good evening, T.J.
Good evening, Mr. Ace.
Come in. And Mrs. Dale, how do you do? I'm Mr. Ace.
Good evening.
Go right in. Mrs. Ace is waiting. Darling.
Yeah?
Darling, this is Mrs. Dale.
Oh, how do you do, Mrs. Ace?
Howdy.
And Mr. Dale.
Good evening, Mrs. Ace.
How you do? I'll take your things, folks.
Thank you very much.
Sit down, folks. Shall we have a little drink before dinner?
Thank you. That'll be fine. Nice little place you have here.
Well, thank you very much. Sit down, won't you? Mrs. Dale over here and T.J.
A lovely little apartment, isn't it, Martha?
Oh,
Thank
So bright and shiny. I suppose you use plenty of Did soap around here.
Oh, sure. Did soap. Only Did.
I used do.
What's that?
Darling, you mean Did, of course.
I used to did, now I use do.
Mr. Ace, is this your idea of a joke?
I assure you it isn't. Darling, please, you use Did.
I ought to know what kind of soap I use. I use enough of it. Do does what Did used to do, but doesn't anymore.
Mr. Ace, I bid you good evening.
No,
my hat and coat, please.
No, just a minute,
Mr.
please.
Ace, you are quite obviously not the man for my account. Come, Martha.
Oh,
I was never so insulted in all my life. Right with you,
just
Tom.
a minute, please. I can explain this whole thing. Listen. This woman is not my wife.
What?
I mean, look. My wife is in the kitchen, and you're going to be surprised when I tell you why. My wife is your maid.
What? What did he say?
Yes, your maid. She took a job with you. She didn't know who you were. I just found out this evening. A minute ago. I was trying to cover it up. Honestly, it's the truth. I'll prove it to you. Jane.
Jane? Well, that's our new maid's name.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Jane. Oh, here she is. Jane.
Yeah, how's the boss? Somebody call for Jane.
Jane, please. They know about it. This is my wife. Aren't you, Jane?
I had a day off, so I took a job here for one night.
No. It's all over. It's all over. They know about it.
Jane, are you married to this man?
Yes, I am, Mrs. Dale.
Tom, this man is evidently emotionally unstable. 2 wives, both maids.
Oh, no.
Good night, Mr. Ace, and goodbye.
But, Mr. Dale, please.
Good night, Jane, and you didn't come back to your job, of course.
Good night, Mrs. Ace.
Good night, Daddy.
What was that? What did she say?
Daddy knows what I said.
Martha, my dear, maybe we've been a little
little hasty.
Thomas Jefferson Dale, if you give this man your account, I'll leave you.
Oh, but my dear.
Going to South America, Mrs. Dale?
What's this?
Well, I mean, Tom, perhaps you're right. Perhaps we have been a little hasty.
Just what I was thinking. Well, Mr. Ace, how about those drinks we were going to have?
Drinks? Oh, sure. What's going on? Helen, bring in the dead martinis. I mean the dry martinis. And so it comes to pass that a man's wife could be a big help to him in his business. Of course, my wife has to go by way of Omaha, but she gets there. And I was appreciative. The day after we got the account, I offered her a reward.
Oh, I don't want anything, dear. I think every wife should help her husband all he can, whenever she needs something.
I won't even try to figure that out. But I want to get you something, Jane. What do you want?
Well, if you insist, how about some hose? Get me a didn't pair of hose.
A what?
A didn't pair of hose.
You mean a dozen pair of hose?
Dear, I saved the soap account for you once. Please watch your language.
Oh, yes, Jane, I'm sorry.
In just a moment, I'll give you the title of Chapter 4 of the story of Mr. Ace and Jane. Remember this, young men. There is no finer career than an Army or an Air Force career. It offers you a continuing education, the chance to learn a valuable technical skill, the opportunity to see the world, which is a broad education in itself. Now, let's look at the practical side, too. Army and Air Force pay, with its extra benefits and allowances, is better than average civilian pay. On top of that, there's retirement pay that leaves you sitting pretty all your life. Drop in at the United States Army and United States Air Force recruiting station nearest you and get the rest of this important story. You'll be mighty glad you did. Next week, Mr. Ace and Jane will bring you Chapter 4, entitled Jane Discovers Hidden Talent in a Newsboy, and Mr. Ace has a client interested in putting on a radio program, so Jane puts two and two together, gets a whooper of 4.6, and before Mr. Ace can stop her, Jane has a discovery on the air. Or, as Mr. Ace puts it,
to err is human, to forgive divine. Good night.
Me too.
by Goodman Ace. Original music conducted by Morris Certain. In the supporting cast tonight were John Griggs as Mr. Dale, Evelyn Barton as Mrs. Dale, Bert Kelton as Helen, Cliff Hall as Mr. Bennett, Eric Dresper as Mr. Norris, and this is Ken Roberts announcing that you may hear Chapter 4 of Mr. Ace and Jane next week at this time over CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Mr. Ace and Jane was only a one-season program. Goodman Ace was primarily a radio writer. He was a comedian, humorist, and wrote magazine columns as well. And as you can tell, his standards were kind of laid back. He really was. He and Jane met in Kansas City. They were both born there, and they performed on KMBC radio for a while. They got an opportunity to go to Chicago, and they thought, if we get a sponsor, we'll pay you. Jane said, no, we're not doing anything else until you pay us. They demanded $500 a week. They got it. They did a good show for quite some time, and I don't know why they really fell out of favor with the sponsors and such. But I can tell you that the Aces did movies. They were in radio and television, both with their original 15-minute Easy Aces program, but also this program, which ran for one season, Mr. Ace and Jane. They were also a part of NBC's Monitor and their weekday counterpart show, Weekday. And then he wrote for a number of shows, including the Danny Kaye Show, the Milton Berle Show, Texaco Radio Theater, Texaco Star Theater, rather, the Big Show, and lots of television stuff. So they were a busy duo. Jane, quite frankly, was a latecomer to the game. And you have to consider that, her malapropisms are what sold her. And as I said, we think about the late Norm Crosby when we think about comedians who use malaprops the way that Jane did. And she was quite a character. Only one season show. And their television show also only ran one season. Mr. Ace and Jane, 77 years ago, February 28th, 1948, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Coming up next, let's see what's going on in New York City with David and Claudia.
Everyone in the United States should know his community's public action signals and what they mean. There are two signals. The alert signal is a steady blast of 3 to 5 minutes. It means attack is probable. Take action as directed by your local authorities. Tune your radio to the Conelrad frequency of 640 or 1240 for official instructions and information. The take cover signal is a wavering tone or short blast for 3 minutes. It means attack is imminent. Take cover in the best available shelter. Be prepared. Know these signals and what they mean.
All right, let's move from comedy, straight comedy, to a delightful slice of life in Claudia. This episode goes back 76 years, February 28th, 1949.
Your Coca-Cola bottler presents Claudia. Claudia, based on the famous play and novels by Rose Franken. Brought to you transcribed Monday through Friday by your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. Relax, and while you're listening, refresh yourself. Have a Coke. And now, Claudia.
David, do you think we'll find Mama home?
Oh, she should be. It's after 6 o'clock.
Well, she hasn't been home all day. Every time I called up, she wasn't home.
Well, she's avoiding you, and I don't blame her.
What's more, she wasn't even here when I came this morning.
Mm-hmm. Well, did she know you were coming?
No.
Then that's not the reason.
Well, Mama is not the kind of woman that runs around all day.
Mama is the kind of woman Mama is, and to stop deciding her life for.
You're right, darling. Why can't I learn to stop worrying about her?
Because we love her.
You understand everything, don't you, darling?
Mm-hmm.
Even what doesn't make sense.
Especially what doesn't make sense, like you. Well, here's Mama's door.
Do you have your key still?
I have my key still.
Goodness sakes. You know, maybe I wish Mama weren't home now. Maybe it would be more fun to have her come in after us and find us here. What do you think? How many times have we done this, you and I? Putting our key in the lock in Mama's door. It's almost as if we weren't married.
Did we do this when we weren't married?
Well, when we were just married. That's almost as good as being weren't married.
I don't know what's good about being weren't married.
Nothing, darling. Nothing. Come on, open up. Let's go in and make ourselves to home.
All right.
Mama? Mama, come out wherever you are.
Hey, Mama. It be only us, your two country cousins. Mama?
She's not home.
It seems not.
David, where do you suppose?
Wherever Mama is, whatever Mama is doing, it's perfectly all right. She is a big girl.
I suppose so. After all, she is old enough to be my mother. Well, take off your hat, take off your coat, make yourself at home, Mr. Norton. In Mama's absence, I am hostess.
Yeah, don't mind if I do.
Oh, it's nice here, isn't it? It's like coming home.
Would you like to come home here?
Nope. The only place for us to come home to is the farm. David, let's call up later.
All right, we'll call.
By then, Mama ought to be back, too.
Unless, of course, she's gone out to dinner.
She couldn't. We're here.
Mama does not know that we are here, remember?
Oh. Well, she ought to know we're here, even without knowing.
Oh.
You know, she ought to have vibrations or twitches or something.
Now, those are nice things to wish on your mother. Hey, Claudia.
Yeah.
Did you really try to make reservations for us at 8 hotels, or did you just say that for my benefit?
I called not 8 hotels, my man, but 10 hotels.
10?
And we are unwanted.
You don't say.
As far as hotels are concerned, we are to remain orphans in the storm.
I have half a mind to call one myself.
You mean you don't trust me?
I trust you, but...
Well, you know I love staying in hotels, David. Fresh sheets every night and fresh towels every morning. Maid service and no planning meals. Oh, I love hotels.
Hotels love you, too.
Yes, they give me such a wonderful feeling with you, darling. But there is a convention.
It seems to me every time we want to stay at a hotel, there is a convention.
Now, if only you were a movie theater owner instead of an architect, then we could have gotten a room.
Well, what's that got to do with anything?
No, it must be fun to go to a... What do you say, to convent about something, David?
Convent?
You think?
That'll do.
Listen, please stop pleading up your forehead. We'll find some place to stay. Some hidden little hotel. Some place will be happy to have us. All we have to do is find a place.
Yeah, I think I'll start calling now. Hey, where'd you leave our bags, by the way? Oh?
Mama! Is that you?
Good heavens, Claudia. You startled me. What are you doing here?
Well, we're here, and I'm here, too.
And you?
Mm-hmm. It's a fine time to come home, Mrs. Brown, when you have company.
David, will you look at her? Her hat is askew.
And where have you been, old mother of mine?
Until so late?
And would anybody mind telling me who invited you here?
You tell her, David.
Oh, why should we tell her anything?
Well, that's right. Why should we?
I see you have your hats and coats off.
Well, take yours off, Mom. It's all right. Go ahead.
Well, thank you so much.
Here, I'll help you.
I'm not so sure I want to stay in this room with you two.
Oh, you're planning to go out again?
Well, I just came home.
From where?
Well, I don't see that I have to tell you anything.
That's right, Mother. You have your secrets.
Well, I intend to.
Yeah, well, where were you?
Oh, you're as bad as she is. Oh, no, you're worse, because you should know better.
You mean I should know better than to ask you where you've been? Well, in that case, Mama,
I said nothing of the sort.
Did she or didn't she, David?
No, she's a little addle-headed.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe we better let up on her,
Mama, do you feel addle-headed?
Yes, I most definitely do.
Well, then you definitely ought to tell us where you've been. You shouldn't be coming home feeling addle-headed. Well, what if we weren't here?
Why wouldn't we? And what are you doing here?
We have come to take care of you,
Well,
Mrs.
you're
Brown.
doing a fine job.
As a matter of fact, she doesn't look too badly, David, considering she's been pining away for us.
I thrive when I'm pining.
Mama, have you been eating regularly?
No.
Have you been sleeping regularly?
No.
You see, David? She needs us.
Why are you in New York? Why aren't you up at the farm taking care of your child the way a decent mother should?
Because I'm following your example.
My what?
Well, you haven't been up to the farm recently taking care of your child the way a decent mother should.
That's telling her.
So we've come to New York to take care of my mother the way a decent child should.
Well, you can spare yourself. Next time.
As a matter of fact, we're going to take care of you all evening.
At least.
Are you two planning to stay in town overnight?
Don't tell her, David.
Well, how come?
David is overworked, Mama.
And seeing that he is overworked, we decided it was high time he stopped running back and forth to Eastbrook.
Have they stopped running trains?
Well, haven't you heard?
No.
Well, anyway, I decided to spare him the travel and allow him to stay in town overnight.
And you had to follow behind. You couldn't let him out of your sight for one night.
Of course not. A handsome man like David, why, I'd be a fool.
Well, as a matter of fact, Mama, I invited her.
Soft-hearted.
I decided it was time that she got some hay out of her hair, so I brought her with me.
If I know my daughter, she brought herself.
Well, you know her.
Listen, that reminds me, where were you all day? What brought you home so late?
No, it's none of your business. I'm declaring my independence. I have no intention of telling you anything.
All right, you don't have to tell me why you're home so late. Mama, tell me where you were all day. Come on, tell me that much.
How do you know I wasn't here all day?
Because you wasn't here, was you?
All right, so I wasn't.
Well, I was here, and I noticed you wasn't. And then when I was out, I kept calling, and you still wasn't.
I am a little wuzzy.
So am I. What hotel are you staying at?
She's throwing us out, David. We've only just come.
Now, don't you worry, Mama. Don't you worry, because we are going.
We came to invite you to dinner, and you accepted.
You know, I thought when my daughter got married, my whole life would change. I'd be a free woman. I would come and go as I pleased. No responsibilities, no troubles, no worries, no nothing. But I see I was wrong.
No responsibilities, no troubles, no worries, and no nothing. Mama, it's no fun. You are going out to dinner with us.
And that, I suppose, is fun.
Oh, David always takes us to a very good restaurant. So extravagant, David.
I don't suppose I'd mind your company too much in a very good restaurant.
You see, every cloud has its silver lining.
But you haven't answered my question. What hotel are you staying at?
Oh, we'll worry about that later.
Oh,
Much
so
later.
you are going to worry about it. Then you have no reservations, have you?
Well, Claudia says that she called up some hotels.
I did, too, yes. There was a convention, Mama, of movie theater owners.
I thought New York was swarming.
Not one hotel would have us. Poor David, he's only an architect.
Well, don't you worry about me. I'll find a room. I can be very convincing
Did you
to
say
strangers.
You were in town because you had to work?
Yeah, I have a meeting, but not until 9. Now, there's plenty of time for us to have dinner together first.
In that case, I think you're very foolish.
Well, that's a nice thing to say to David, I must say.
Well, I was saying it to both of you. I think you're very foolish to stay in a hotel.
Oh, I wish we could be foolish. But the hotels haven't taken us yet.
If David's going to be working all evening, you're going to be all alone.
I know, and a hotel is no fun all alone.
Well, you're much better off staying with me tonight. Both of you.
Why, Mama.
You mean you want us to stay here?
Oh, what's so awful about that? You've stayed here before. As I remember, it was your suggestion before, so it couldn't be so awful.
Why, Mama, we didn't come to New York to stay with you.
Well, plans have altered to suit the situation. But suit yourself. I was only trying to be helpful. Heaven knows why I should want you to stay here. It's only for your convenience, not mine.
David, what do you think?
No, darling. Now, this time we're not going to barge in on Mama.
What's so different about this time than any other time?
Well,
Barging in on Mama was good enough before.
Well, it's not good enough for us now.
Why?
No reason, especially.
I suppose not. Finding a hotel room is better.
Oh, much.
Seriously, David, stay here. There's plenty of room.
Now, Mrs. Brown, I think everybody wants and needs a certain amount of privacy, and I don't think you're so different from everybody. Now, this is your apartment, and Claudia and I have no right to come in on you and upset everything. You have your own plans and your own life to live.
So have we. We are a mother and a father and a child. We are a complete family unit, as the books say.
Mm-hmm.
And as 2/3 of a family unit, David and I should stay in a hotel when we come to New York.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I think you should stay in a hotel, but...
You see, David, she didn't really mean to invite us. Wasn't it lucky we didn't accept?
Oh, well, I wouldn't stay here anyway. This is the last place on earth, I'd say.
I feel that way, too.
Well, Mama doesn't even have matches around for a man to light his pipe with.
Well, I don't usually have a man around to light David.
Mom and I never had any matches around for years. Did we, Mama?
And I like the smell of a pipe. I always did.
So do I, Mama. You know, I married David, I think, because of the smell of his pipe.
Well. It's nice to find out at last why.
Well, I wouldn't mind the smell of a pipe for a change, for one night.
You'd like us to stay?
I wouldn't mind. You're not so bad. Not as bad as you pretend.
Well, what about me?
Oh, you're worse.
Oh, you're not so bad yourself, Mrs. Brown.
Then it's settled. We accept your kind invitation,
There's
Mama.
nothing kind about it. It's only sensible. We can have dinner right here, and David can go to his meeting without rushing, and then you won't be alone all evening.
See how bossy she is, David? The minute she gets a chance.
Well, I'm bossy,
Always
too.
the same
We'll
thing.
stay here, Mama, but we'll go out to dinner and to a good restaurant.
Well, since when don't you like my food, my nice food? Since when?
Since tonight? If we are to accept your hospitality, Mrs. Brown, you can accept ours in return. Then we won't be beholden to you.
I can see there's no point in arguing.
None.
Well, we better get going. We have to pick up our bags. Say, where'd you leave them, Claudia?
What do you mean, leave what?
The bags, of course. Where did you check them?
I didn't check them.
Well, you certainly didn't carry them around all day.
David, do you think I'd go and spend $2 just to leave our bags someplace? David, you're married to a much better businesswoman than that.
Well, come on now. We don't have much time. Where did you leave them?
Well, I left them here, of course.
Here?
Well, Mama wasn't here, so I just stashed them away in the hall closet. Wasn't that bright?
Claudia, were you planning to stay here all the time?
Was I?
You were, weren't you?
Were I?
I might have known. I have been hoodwinked, trapped, and bamboozled.
These broadcasts are adapted for radio by Manya Starr, and the entire production is supervised and directed by William Brown Maloney.
Do you act as delivery boy for the family groceries? If so, you'll be grateful week in and week out for that ingenious Coca-Cola carton. It's so easy to pick up, so easy to carry, even when your arms are full of bundles. And those 6 bottles of Coke are greeted so enthusiastically by the family, you're always glad you remembered the refreshment department. Every day, Monday through Friday, Claudia comes to you transcribed with the best wishes of your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. So listen again tomorrow at the same time. And now this is Joe King saying au revoir. And remember, whoever you are, whatever you do, wherever you may be, when you think of refreshment, think of Coca-Cola. For Coca-Cola makes any pause the pause that refreshes. And ice-cold Coca-Cola is everywhere.
February 28, 1949, Claudia here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Join us tomorrow for a Foreign Affair, an episode of the Screen Directors Playhouse, a full-hour production starring Marlene Dietrich. We'll also have an episode of Suspense, Sherry Jackson, in the story of The Screaming Woman, Ernest Chaplin, an episode of Quiet Please, and we'll wrap it all up with an episode of Claudia. We'll see you on our next Classic Radio Theater podcast tomorrow. I'm Wyatt Cox.